Let's go to Dr. Dick Berggren.
I'm with rookie sensation Jeff Gordon, who has won his first ever career pole for this race at Charlotte. He's got no wins in 1994, but he's got a pair of seconds. One of them right here in the spring. Jeff, your crew chief, says this is your racetrack, the one you're best suited for. Is today your day?
Well, it can be. If we make all the right things happen, so far it's been a perfect week for us. And, we got to have good pit stops, got to stay out of trouble. And if we could do all those things, it could be our day. But we're just going to have to wait to see.
Working with me on pit road today is Johnny Hayes. John?
Ernie, you've had a great year. You've jumped in this car. You're qualifying up front. You've won a race. What do you think's going to happen today?
Well, I tell you, this Texaco Havoline Ford Thunderbird has drove great since we got here on Wednesday, and outside pole was a pretty good run, but it's not what we're here for. We're here to win, and we're worried about winning that last lap, and that's what it's going to pay for, to bring it home for all these guys who work so hard.
They've done a great job. Let's throw it to Rick Benjamin.
Well, thank you, Johnny. We're here in the SDP Pit Communication Center on a beautiful day. More than 100,000 here to watch this battle for the Winston Cup Championship and a victory here today. I want to tell you a little bit about Randy Pemberton, one member of our crew who's normally on pit road. Well, Randy's got a ride today. He'll be driving the garage area in this cart. He's on the injured list, but we're glad to have him back there, Johnny Hayes, on pit road for us. The driver doing the chasing in that battle for the Winston Cup title starts way back in the 11th row. Johnny has made his way back to Rusty Wallace.
We're walking on our way back to Rusty right now. You can see it's a long way back. He's got a long way to go to the front. Rusty, I had to run a long way to get back to you, boy. You got me tired and I'm breathing hard. How are we going to get to the front?
Well, you're pretty smart, Johnny. And I've told you before that I think I'm going to run pretty good when I got a good car. I'm telling you, I think this Mello Yello draft car is strong today. We had to really work for these rule changes. I think that the spoiler hurt us a little bit, but it made us work that much harder. I think you're going to see this car go right to the front, but got to be real smart. A lot of cars in front of me I don't know about. Let the pit crew work for me today a little bit until I get up to the front.
Well, I picked you last time. Good luck. Okay, Dave.
The points leader, Dale Earnhardt, has a good starting spot. He'll take the green in the 9th position. But, Dale, everybody's talking about how unstable these cars are. Can you hang on to this thing for 500 miles?
I hope so. That's what we're here for. The car's been handling pretty good in practice. I think we'll be okay.
Dale Earnhardt, he'll take off from 9th.
While we're getting set for the national anthem, we've had the usual pre-race ceremonies, some of which we'll show you here at H.A. Humpy Wheeler's great facility. There you see part of the crowd, and 42 cars have qualified, a couple of provisional starters in the back. Neil, as we wait for Randy Travis to sing the national anthem, this gets down to a totally different picture than what we've experienced in probably 15 years on this track. I guess let's go down for the national anthem right there.
You see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
A beautiful version of the national anthem from Randy Travis as we get set for racing in Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, earlier this week, the whole conversation down here in the garage area has been about the rule changes that NASCAR has effected in trying to slow the cars down both here in Atlanta. 190 miles an hour to turn 1 here, 195 about down at Atlanta for that last race, November 14th. They're trying to hold them down a little. They brought them down 2 miles an hour in qualifying, but the issue is, can they slow them down in this race? Let's take a look at what they've done. Neil has filed this report.
NASCAR is continuously trying to make these cars more stable, protect the drivers and the fans. We've seen some of them fly lately. I can attest to that. But the biggest thing they're doing right here on this rear spoiler, this thing used to be 6.5 inches high. They cut it down to 5. Took a lot of downforce off this trunk area, holding rear wheels on the ground. They've got to lift a little bit early. They're not near as stable. The next thing they did, they checked these cars right here, back from the hood, back from the roof, a 1/2 inch higher. They made them raise them up, in turn getting the whole body height up in the air, slowing them down, trying to stabilize the car. And then a place that's really effective on these cars, they're always working on this frontal area of these race cars to get them sloped down as close to the ground as they possibly get them. They used to be at 3.5 inches. They raised them up to 5. Now the air is going under the car. In turn, the thing is not as stable. The driver has to lift a little bit sooner. The thing they're trying to do is help them when they turn these cars around backwards. We've seen them in the past get backwards. Air goes under the hood like a parachute. Look here. They put a little flapper in the cowl. It's on both sides of the cowl area. When the car gets backwards, catches air like a parachute, this releases the air. The car tries to stay on the ground. It's just kind of trial and error right now. Hopefully this is right here. These new changes will keep the cars on the ground when they have problems.
Let's go down for the command to fire the engines and begin the Mello Yello 500.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Quite a chorus. And quite a chorus here, well over 100,000, probably 130, cheering as the engines get sent on their way. Drivers ready for 500 miles, 334 laps at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. There you see Bobby Hillen settling in with car number 90 as we get ready for a go this afternoon. Derek Cope a little further back in the field. He's set. Hale Yarborough's car coming to life. And Darrell Waldron ready for action, carrying our onboard cameras today. Let's talk a little about what these rule changes can mean in the 500 today. And first go to Johnny Hayes.
Ken, Gary Nelson, NASCAR, they're in a no-win situation. They've got a problem. They've got to slow these cars down. They've tried everything they can to keep them from getting airborne. Gary Nelson brought the Pontiac and the Chevrolet and the Ford here to do a test to make sure everybody was comfortable. Rusty said he was comfortable. Ricky Rudd said he was comfortable. Then they get back, and then they have complaints that the cars are not working just right. It's just a tough deal, but bottom line, these cars are going 2 miles an hour faster down the straightaway than they were before the change to slow them down. It slowed them down in the turns, but not on the straightaway.
Dr. Dick Berggren.
Well, Ken, it seems to have differentially affected the various makes of cars. If anything, Chevrolet hasn't been much affected at all, and neither has Ford. But it has, in fact, hurt the Pontiacs. They've got a small trunk, and when they took the spoiler away, it made the back end of the car a little bit loose. The Pontiac drivers are not yet ready to give up on this thing by a long shot, but they're going to have their hands full this afternoon.
Randy Pemberton.
Well, the whole thing is, gentlemen, driving loose race cars. You talk about Ernie Irvin, Dale Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, all being able to drive a loose race car. That is, in fact, what it's going to be able to take here today in order to go to victory lane. But how loose of a race car do you want to drive? If a chassis man can get a car where it sticks through the corners, maybe that guy's the one to go to victory lane here today. The advantage has to go to the guys that can drive a loose race car, but you cannot tell me a good chassis man isn't going to be a strong part of winning this race here this afternoon.
Rick Benjamin.
Well, the good chassis man may reside in the pits of Mark Martin today. A lot of folks we talked to this morning think that Martin is going to build on his strong victory yesterday in the Busch Grand National race. He was more than 1 mile an hour faster than everybody else yesterday. In the final practice, we'll see how it plays out.
Neil, a lot of drivers can drive them loose, a car that kind of wiggles out there, but to drive fast and loose, you really got a limited number of people that have that kind of talent.
Yeah, there's several of the drivers that like loose race cars. You think of Rusty Wallace, Earnhardt, and then I think of Gant, the guy that finesses the car, and Walter. It's going to take several different guys. I'd like to sit here and give you the answer. I don't have any idea what's going to happen, and neither do these guys on the other side of the fence here. We're going to have to turn them loose, see if they go fast, see if they stay on the ground, it could be full of a lot of spins. We don't know what's going to happen yet.
But when you talk about fast and loose, you usually talk about Earnhardt, Gant, a guy like Jimmy Spencer, even Waltrip back in those old days. That car isn't working the way you want it. You want somebody to manhandle it. Harry Gant's always a guy that can get that kind of job done, too.
The guy that's on the pole, young man, Jeff Gordon, just got out of sprint cars, dirt cars. He's over in this type racing now. He's ran sideways all his life. He's young. He doesn't know any better. He's liable to put on a show today.
What we need is Neil Bonded in that group. Let's take a look at the starting grid for today's 34th annual Mello Yello 500. It's presented by Haviland. Jeff Gordon is on the pole, 22-year-old freshman, youngest Winston Cup pole sitter in 41 years. And alongside his 5th straight front row start, that's Ernie Irvin. For row 2, it's Jeff Bodine, the 91 winner of the event, and Ken Schrader, who won it in 89. Row 3 today is Bill Elliott, the 84 and 87 champion here, and Greg Sachs, his best start of the season. Row 4, defending champion here, Mark Martin and Ricky Rudd. In row 5, it's a 5-time Charlotte winner, Dale Earnhardt and Brett Bodine. For row 6, first ride in the Morgan McClure Chevrolet for Joe Nemechek and Rick Mast alongside. In row 7, Harry Gantz there won this race in 82 from the pole, last man to do it. Derek Cope, the former winner of the Daytona 500 in row 7. Row 8, Jimmy Spencer. He had a 4th place here 1 year back in his first ride for Bobby Allison and Morgan Shepherd. Row 9 is Todd Bodine, the 3rd brother in that Bodine clan from Chemung, New York, and Rick Wilson taking one of his final rides in the Petty Pontiac. In row 10 today, it's Rich Bickle, short track ace from Wisconsin, and Michael Waltrip. In row 11, Rusty Wallace is there, and alongside the 84 Winston Cup champion, Terry Labonte. For row 12, Hut Strickland and the 6-time Charlotte winner, Darrell Waltrip. Row 13 is Andy Hillenberg, that sprint car star from Indiana, and Ted Musgrave. Row 14 is Dick Trickle and Bobby Hamilton. Row 15 is Jim Sauter and Jeremy Mayfield. Row 16 today is Kyle Petty, who finished 3rd here last year, and Jerry O'Neill. In row 17, Wally Dallenbach and Sterling Marlin. For row 18, it's Mike Wallace and Lake Speed. In row 19, Bobby Hillen and Dale Jarrett with his worst start all year back in 38th spot. Row 20 is Chad Little and John Andretti making his 2nd Winston Cup start. Provisional starters, Bobby Labonte starts 41st on the inside of row 21, and Kenny Wallace rounds out the Haviland starting grid.
They had Andy Hillenberg, Kim, moved to the rear of the field. He starts dead last. He wrecked his car in practice and had to go to a backup car, so he'll be dead last in the 29.
Bringing him out of the line that he was in and sending him to the rear, car number 75 pulls down onto pit road. Todd Bodine out of Chemung, New York. Temperatures at 76 degrees today, just about perfect. Good overcast for today, but in and out of the clouds. It's not like racing at night, is it, Neil?
There's Junior Johnson. We see him getting ready for the start. Let me take in the sunshine, the cool track, the hot track. Let me tell you, that's the least of the worries. I think these guys concerned what kind of car, what kind of race have they got. $1 million plus today, 42 cars running, 334 laps for 500 miles. There are 3 races left after today. The point battle, a 72-point differential as we go into it. Rusty Wallace has been carving away at Dale Earnhardt's 300-point lead back at the end of August. On board with Darrell Waltrip as he gets set to sail in the Western Auto car number 17 this afternoon. Here's Bobby Hillen taking a look up through the field from car number 90 as he gets set for a go. And there's Derek Cope ready for action this afternoon. Pace car bringing the field down, getting set for a start. Randy Travis to drop the green over the field today. Mello Yello and Coca-Cola talking about a 10-year deal with the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Not talking about it. They signed the deal today, and they're going to be here for some time to come. Here comes the field. Rolling down for a start. Gordon getting a bit of a break, and he's away. In front for just a moment. Ernie Irvin right back as the car 75 wheels on the pit road, already having a problem. Todd Bodine. They said he's been black flagged. I'm not sure what that's about, Kim, but they did black flag him. There's Gordon. I tell you what, Ernie Irvin wanted to try to make that pass. He's Gordon inside. Here comes Jeff. Look here, Jeff Bodine, 3 deep going into turn 3.
Jeff Bodine in the number 7 car. Making a good one. Harry carries himself right up into second spot behind Ernie Irvin out in front.
A lot of concern about the drivers when they get in traffic. They don't know exactly how these cars are going to feel. They're faster down the straightaway, but they need that spoiler in traffic to see what happens.
Todd Bodine comes back on the track, and he's overlapped as they wheel down the back straightaway. It's Irvin in front, Jeff Bodine in second, Jeff Gordon in third, Schrader and Greg Sachs on board EW as he storms up through the field. Coming around that lap car of Todd Bodine.
There's Terry Labonte directly in front of him. 55 car right there down on the inside.
Going back to the front. Good scramble for second place. Bodine under challenge. Jeff Gordon there. Jeff Gordon pressing on the inside. Looking for any kind of a hole to open up and get back into second place as Ernie Irvin draws away in the early going.
I tell you, that little 24 car of Jeff Gordon's has really been strong all week. I think people thought he would lead the race, but Ernie Irvin in the 28 got a big jump on him.
Earnhardt runs in the 8th position. Right behind Mark Martin.
Yeah, and outside of Earnhardt is Bill Elliott trying to move up. In the number 11, the red car is Bill Elliott. Fell in behind Dale Earnhardt.
Ernie Irvin out in front. That's the 17th race he's led this year.
That number 6 car right there in front of Earnhardt, that's the car that showed big numbers in practice. Really quick in all the practice. They thought he might be the man on the go. But talk about on the go. On the outside, going down in turn 3, Earnhardt's trying to get around him. Makes it work. That's the tough way to do it. They made some major changes to Earnhardt's car today. They were questioning which way to go. The car's been quick, but they wanted to make some changes. They tried it. Looks like it might have helped him a little bit. Ricky Rudd right there in front of him, Ken. His car's quick.
Rusty Wallace, 18th position, closing on Derek Cope in the 98. Harry Gant just in front of him. Now remember, they've got that very short rear deck on those Pontiacs, and the Pontiac folks have been very unhappy all week about the conditions under which they're running. They just don't have that much space for downforce on that rear trunk lid. Cope on the outside, Rusty Wallace on the inside. Battle for 15th now as Wallace picked off Gant, goes for Derek Cope and has it out of 2.
You know, we're hearing everybody say the cars are doing this or doing that. There goes Rusty. We see him passing. But Rusty sounded very confident when we interviewed him earlier. I'm not so sure they're telling us the whole story. That car looks good to me.
As they come around to complete 6 laps, Ernie Irvin draws away. It's Jeff Bodine under challenge from Jeff Gordon for second. Greg Sachs runs in 4th. Schrader's in 5th. Ricky Rudd's in 6th. Earnhardt's in 7th. Mark Martin in 8th. Elliott 9th. Rick Mast in 10th. More from Charlotte in a moment. 12 laps, 18 miles complete by 1 7/10. Ernie Irvin out in front of now Dale Earnhardt in second place, wasting no time, moving through traffic. Earnhardt has pulled himself up into second position. Take a look at this pass just a moment ago.
Kenny got a run off the second turn, drove the car down under the 24 of Jeff Gordon. Makes the car stick right here, right on the bottom of the track. Pulls up in front of him, coming off turn 4. Came through a lot of traffic up to second place.
Car or experience?
Well, I tell you, I think this rule thing with a little bit of looseness might be coming Earnhardt's way. He doesn't mind wrestling one around. And Rusty Wallace back there, he's coming on up also.
Wallace on the move is now into 14th, and Gant has jumped up into 13th. Harry Gant, remember, was behind Wallace when last we reported to you on him. He's picked up a couple of 3 spots. Here you see the leader, number 28, with Ernie Irvin now at the control, seeking his second win, one for the first time in that Gates car at Martinsville, Virginia. Here's Rusty Wallace. He's looking for Gant just in front of him in the 33. Meanwhile, look at Gordon fighting with Earnhardt another time as they battle for second.
Yeah, Earnhardt passed him. Here comes Gordon right back. While they're doing this, 28 car with Ernie Irvin just checking out on them. These guys are racing real hard.
Picks up a 10th, 1 8 now. 1 8/10 of a second between first and the second place battle of Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon. Let's review further back for you. Just outside the top 10, Rudd is now in 10th. Spencer's 11th, Gant 12th. Bodine 13th as Gant continues to mount an assault toward the front. Wallace 14th. Wilson in the 44 is 15th. Joe Nemechek, he's up to 16th. Darren Cope 17th. Strickland is 18th. Kyle Petty in 19th, Terry Lamont in 20th, Wally Dallenbach 21st, and then Sterling Marlin 22nd.
We're seeing Rusty Wallace come through there. The key to his move to the front is just as he said himself. He's got to be careful. He's got a lot of cars in front of him. He's taking his time, but he's working his way to the front.
And he's worked his way into 12th position now. Rusty Wallace putting that Pontiac up to 12th. Remember how the Pontiacs have been fuming and fussing all week, Neil? You think they were telling us a story? It seemed to me they really had a point to make, but they just didn't have the handle earlier on.
I don't doubt that the spoiler thing is going to help one manufacturer or hurt one manufacturer more than the other. But Rusty Wallace and his team loaded up. They went to the wind tunnel Monday after last Sunday's race, so they put in a lot of effort to get that car right.
Meanwhile, Bill Elliott in the Junior Johnson car comes up to a 6th spot. Let's go to Johnny Hayes.
Juniors, your car's running well at the start. We had a bunch of new rules. How does that affect everything?
Well, yesterday, for instance, Johnny, the morning practice, our car was perfect. Yesterday evening, he couldn't drive it at all. So we threw out the morning practice chassis combination, and we went to something else yesterday evening, and never did get it worked out. Again this morning, we went to another one. So we don't know where we're at. It's a pretty tough thing right now to take a new rule like this and hit it the first time around. Whoever hits it's going to be fine. And the rest of the guys are just going to have to pick and choose and hunt for it the rest of the day, I think.
Well, right now, picking his way, choosing the low line, Elliott trying to close on Schrader, and he's picked up a couple of car lengths in the past lap or so. Now you're looking at Kyle Petty, and look at this battle continue for second. What a story on Kyle from 31st. He's up to 17th in that car 42 Pontiac. Look at this war. On the inside, Gordon, the pole sitter, right alongside Dale Earnhardt.
Watching Bill Elliott a while ago, he moved up higher on the racetrack in 3 and 4, and it seemed to be fast for him. A couple of laps ago, Earnhardt moved up to try it. It looked like Gordon can get under him when he gets high, but the difference is, can you get that momentum off the corner, pinching the car in the bottom? So these guys are fishing around, trying to find a place on the track to run.
And as they run side by side, they squander the opportunity to close on Ernie Irvin. He's checked out. He's out in front by 3 seconds now.
I'm not sure they're squandering. I think he was checking out anyway. That thing of his is running. These guys are racing.
Still side by side, back straightaway, but it's awfully early to be linked up in a war like this for the moment. Gordon, here comes Earnhardt right back on the inside. Dynamite racing at lap, let's see, coming up 21.
Well, you just said it, Ken. The name of the game is racing. It's not ride. And the racing we do nowadays in Winston Cup, you race from the time they drop that green flag to the checker. These guys are running just as hard as if we're the end of the race.
All these rule changes as you watch Earnhardt on the bottom of the racetrack. Gordon alongside. Gordon goes back into 2nd spot. Boy, for an early race battle, we've got a dandy, and it's Jeff Gordon. Once again, taking that high road. Here comes Earnhardt, rolling back on the inside as they come out of turn number 4. He settles in behind for a moment. Dale, are you for or against the rule changes?
Just like always, it gives us a couple of races and a little time in the wind tunnel. We have the cars dialed back in and stuck back to the racetrack. So if it'll slow the cars some down in the race and help accomplish what they want to without putting a restriction plate on it, I'm for that.
Meanwhile, Ernie Irvin pulls away to almost a 4-second lead, 3 9/10. And check out this interval between that car in the lead and your battle for 2nd spot. Here's Gordon back to 2nd. In 3rd is Earnhardt. Behind him is Greg Sachs in a great qualifying spot in the number 68 car, Country Time car. Then Bill Elliott 5th, Schrader 6th, Martin 7th, Harry Gant to 8th, Rick Mast to 9th, Ricky Rudd to 10th, Spencer Wallace 12th.
I tell you, Gordon, I thought when it first started he might be able to take the lead. But look at this 28 car of Ernie Irvin. He's right around the bottom of the racetrack. He's one of the few cars running on the white line all the way through the corner, so that car is really working.
So, assisting CBS Sports with aerial coverage of this Mello Yello 500, the folks from Ray Bestis, the Best in Brakes, giving you this picture of the battle for 2nd place.
Welcome back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We take you high above turn 2 as Jeff Gordon tries to find a way to track down Ernie Irvan. It's been Ernie Irvan's show so far here in the early going today at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Maybe Ernie can add a few dollars to his prize money take out of here today. More than $1 million on the line. The True Value, folks. True Value has the hard charger money posted today. $5,000 today, a $50,000 season-long purse available for the drivers who lead the most laps and run on the top 5 the most laps. So far this season, Dale Earnhardt's leading the standings, followed by Rusty Wallace, mimicking the Winston Cup points. Mark Martin, Ernie Irvan is 4th, and Kyle Petty 5th. We'll keep you posted on the True Value battle here all afternoon long.
Good battle right here. There you see Jimmy Spencer down on the inside, Ricky Rudd on the high side as they battle for 10th position.
Ken, we're seeing a lot of guys. Watch Rudd when he goes in his corner. He takes a real high line. That's the line of about 3 or 4 years ago. And that's exactly what we've done to these race cars. We put them back 3 years with this spoiler. That's about the trim they were in. Seeing a lot of cars try that high line on the racetrack.
Rudd going for 10th position against Jimmy Spencer. And for the moment, the Meineke car stays with it, holds the spot, and actually pulls away. Look at this battle. And that is a nice one that's going on. The 11 car, Bill Elliott, back in 5th spot, battling with Harry Gant on the inside. Johnny Hayes is standing by with Harry Gant's crew chief.
Leo Jackson, your car's running real well. Harry's coming to the front. He's thinking that.
No, Johnny hadn't said a word. You know, he's paced a lot of cars. Looks like he's in pretty good shape.
Harry Gant's a great driver of a loose race car. We all talked about that earlier. As these cars go away, Harry Gant seems to get better. This may be his day.
Johnny, there's a good chance of that, because let me tell you, when we used to go to Dover and some of the tracks that really got slick in the race, Gant would get up on that wall, he'd find him a place to race, he'd run anywhere on the track, he'd dig around and get him a groove, and here he is on, well, we've got a little bit of different circumstances, he's coming to the front.
Remember what's happened. They made these cars a little more difficult to handle, lifted them up a little higher, and therefore you have to get out of the throttle a little earlier, use it a little more gingerly through the turn, faster in the straightaways, a little slower in the corners than they were before, but those that can travel those corners sideways are the ones you want to watch today. Look at Ernie Irvan with a 4-second advantage. Think about this kid in 2nd spot. This kid right there, as he continues to work Jeff Gordon in that 2nd spot. Earnhardt maintaining 3rd, the veteran who really knows how to get that car sideways, and still Harry Gant pulls up through. Rusty Wallace doing a good job as he continues to close on these leaders. He's up to 11th. Better than 4-second advantage for Ernie Irvan.
And Ernie told us when he was at the top of the show that from the time they've unloaded that car, it's been quick and it's driven good and it's showing up. You know, here's a guy we talked about earlier, Kyle Petty. He's got a different line around this racetrack. Most people, he rolls out of the gas early. You won't ever see him get very high above that line. Then he jumps the car up off the corner. When you got these kind of situations, if you can have that discipline, coast the car in, beat it through the corner, and squirt it up the straightaways, Kyle could get to the front also. He's one of the guys that runs the bottom of this racetrack all day.
Kyle to 10th position from 31st. There's one Pontiac that's flying. That battle with the 42 car, about 12 seconds back from the leaders. We're running lap 34. 51 miles have been completed. Change that. 35 now. 2.5 down. Still all green thus far. Had 12 cautions yesterday, a record. These cars more ill handling than the Grand National cars that we saw performing in that 300-mile race yesterday. These drivers really staying on top of them in the early going.
Well, they're having to, Ken. I think this first pit stop, whenever we have a caution or whenever we make that first green stop, you're going to see these crews go to work, because a couple or 3 of these cars, they're in good shape. The rest of them, boy, they have got their hands full.
As you watch this number 28 flying, just floating around these corners with Modesto, California's Ernie Irvan at the controls. They made some changes, I believe, with this car this morning. Dick Berggren, how about it?
Well, Ken Squire, just about everybody was changing their car this morning except the 28 crew. Robert Yates today said we had a choice. We decided to not change the springs on the car. We changed the valve springs in the engine instead. This place is very tough on engines. About 25% of all of those who start blow up before this race is over. They're not worried about the car, they're worried about the motor.
Dick, I tell you what, of all things that happen to any of these Winston Cup motors, it's usually that valve train. They've got connecting rods, crankshafts, blocks. The manufacturers have built such bulletproof pieces The thing that gives you trouble is those valve springs in the valves because they abuse them so much, and you'll see a lot of teams put new springs on race morning.
Coming around to complete 38 laps with Ernie Irvan first, Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon continuing their war as they battle it out a little further back. For the moment, it's Jeff Gordon in second, Earnhardt having to settle for third, but he won't settle for anything but first. He has his way about it. We'll see how that develops in the afternoon.
Back at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Mello Yello 500 working lap 43 with Ernie Irvan in command. We're watching the progress or the lack of same on the part of Ken Schrader, the Fenton, Missouri campaigner, who started this afternoon in 4th spot. They've changed 2 motors in that car, one yesterday afternoon before the final practice. Motor was vibrating. They put another engine in today before the start of this race. It's not working out. Schrader backing up in the field at the moment. Hopefully he'll get it sorted out.
Up in front now by 7 seconds with 43 laps complete of the 334 to be run. The interval continuing to develop. He's just lapped Morgan Shepherd, who started 16th, this guy in Ernie Irvan.
I'll tell you, if he keeps up this pace, Ken, he's going to start lapping a bunch of the good race cars.
Sterling Marlin in the number 8. He has come to 14th position, started 34th on the day, and the Ray Bestis car working very well for the Stavola brothers as Sterling Marlin tries to break that jinx. 9 second-place finishes, but never a winner. Remember here at Charlotte, he had a 601 by a lap in blue attire with time running out back in the 80s. Sterling Marlin having a good run thus far as he continues to clip them off. But the man really on the move right now is Harry Gant, who is up to 5th position in his Chevrolet number 33. You see Terry Labonte's number 14, the Kellogg car, right behind at number 8, and they are running 14th and 15th respectively. Here's Jeff Gordon running second. Here's Dick Berggren.
There's trouble with the 24 car, Ken Squire. In fact, there's double trouble with the 24. One of the problems that they're having, their radio is not working properly. Gordon is unable to talk to his crew, although his crew can talk to him. Now, the crew just asked him a couple of laps ago, when you come by, if it's loose, wave. And we saw a frantic wave through the window. Before the radio went out, Gordon was complaining on nearly every lap. The car is getting looser and looser in the corners.
There goes Greg Sachs up into 3rd spot. Earnhardt falling to 4th, and here comes Harry Gant. Gant down on the inside, clips through. That's Gant into 4th. Earnhardt dropping back. What do you think the story here is, Neil?
Well, he's been falling off the pace there. And Sachs have been running a really good race along with Gant. They were working together coming to the front. Looks like the first car's fading with him. Sachs has had a tremendous run.
And a great qualifying day for Greg Sachs.
Neil Bonnet, I want to pose this more as a question about Dale Earnhardt. Now, we talk about the possibility of him being able to drive a loose race car. He's been able to bring it up on the high side, down on the low side. What about driving a loose race car during this race? Does that wear the tires down more so than if the car tracked true through the corners? Neil, that's the question I pose to you.
Brent, there's no doubt about it. If the car's loose, you're spinning the rear wheels, they're slipping a little bit, it's going to wear some. A lot of the guys made changes this morning, and it looks to me like Earnhardt's got his car a little loose. He just can't get going like he wants to. But we're seeing about 6 or 7 of the top guys fade a little bit. Look here, you know, we talked about Gann early, that finesse. It looks like the 68 car's hooked up. You were right, Randy, at the top of the show. The guy that's got the chassis, he's going to go the front. If it's not handling, I don't guess any driver can get in front. Earnhardt's starting to fade himself.
Greg Sachs, who failed to qualify just a week ago at North Wilkesboro, having a great run here, holding 3rd spot. Here comes Earnhardt back beneath Gant. Ramble for 4th.
See Mike Waltrip coming down pit road while we're watching this action here.
Jimmy Spencer pitted and went a lap down. Well, we had this confrontation going on. Spencer has gone a lap down, and now number 30 comes in a bit early at lap 49, the Pennzoil Pontiac.
Yeah, he'd already been lapped. He got way behind, so they're going to have to make some kind of change.
Had a great run yesterday. Won 2nd place in the Grand National event. To Mark Martin with Earnhardt 3rd.
Yeah, good run. He passed, right there at the end, finished 2nd. Good run for him. 4 tires all the way around. You see that every time they stop today. And boy, are those going to feel good. After you've been out there sliding, you slipping and sliding, those 4 new ones feel like they've nailed her to the ground for you.
qualified in 30th spot. And then that car backed up to 38th. It's still this man, Lonesome Urban, out in front, 7-second advantage. First 50 laps are complete with nary a sign of caution thus far in the event. They said it would either be a runaway or wreck strewn. That was the prediction from H.A. Humpy Wheeler, the promoter, with the changes that NASCAR had put into effect, but I didn't think anyone was figuring Ernie Irvan would be the runner.
Well, just like he's talking about, what he's talking about, if somebody hits on the chassis that drives away, that thing of Yates has got a lot of motor. If they get it where he can mash that throttle, he's going to drive away, and he's doing it.
Earnhardt coming back. Remember, he dropped off a couple of positions. Here he is on the inside of Greg Sachs.
He goes down the inside, see if he can stick on the bottom. He couldn't do that earlier. His car had been sliding.
In the 52nd lap, it is Earnhardt in the number 3 car. Back to third spot. Urban leads, Gordon still in second. So it's Ford, Chevy at the present time. And here comes Harry Gant moving back through again.
Here comes the 4 car coming in. That's Joe Nemechek driving the 4 car this week. He just turned down pit road.
We're at 52 laps. Greg Sachs falling back to 5th position. Realistically, Greg Sachs, as we watch Joe Nemechek making that change, defending Grand National champion, going all the way around on tires. And they're making a bit of an adjustment there.
They're taking bite. I mean, they're putting bite in the car. They're backing off that right rear jack screw, which puts bite in. His car is real loose. They're trying to tighten it up.
53 laps complete. Greg Sachs, a bit of a surprise out here as he continues to run in 5th spot.
Ken, that's just a little bit early coming in. They're talking about coming in, and he's about 20 laps ahead of everyone else, so he must have been really loose. Boy, we see Irvin right here just lapping everybody. He's coming up through the field. You get one hooked up like that, you want to just smash everybody around. Looks like that's Waltrip directly in front. Darrell Waltrip, a big winner at this racetrack. And Irvin's just about to lap him.
Bobby Hill in the Heilig-Myers car going a lap down, and now we're seeing some activity on pit road. Here comes Greg Sachs rolling in, and Harry Gant.
Boy, I tell you, that looseness of these race cars might make them stop early for tires.
Here's Johnny Hayes.
Greg Sachs is having an outstanding run. Jumps in the pits. Everybody's over the wall. This is where it's made, folks. You make a good stop, you'll get back out front. If you don't, you're in trouble.
See him get the right side tires on there. The top teams have been doing 4 tires in roughly 20 seconds. See what kind of stop he gets out of it right here.
Gant had a very good pit stop, and he's back underway and going by Greg Sachs. He heads down. A slow stop on Greg Sachs' car. And the Jackson team had an excellent stop on number 33. Pit stops coming up. We're at lap 56 of the 34th annual Mello Yello 500 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Live on TBS this afternoon. Stay with us for all the action. .60 laps, 90 miles have been completed. There you see Ernie Irvan out in front. He is a remarkable part of the story, but look at this. This is even more remarkable from 34th spot. That is 31st spot. Kyle Petty going to 3rd. Car number 42. Kyle Petty's Pontiac is up into 3rd position. What a ride he's giving. Bill Elliott brings in number 11, the 5th place car. Derek Hope is on pit road. Musgrave is in, watching that pit stop on Elliott. Dean Schrader coming in right behind him.
These guys are going to get a workout on pit road this week. Looks like they're coming in. They're not going a full fuel run. They're going tire run. They're stopping before they need fuel.
Now here's Earnhardt coming in, running in 4th position. Wallace will come up to 5th in these pit stops. Rick Mast, who's then running 6th, he comes in. Rudd, who's running 7th. So they're all pulling in here. Looks like they're watching each other, Dick Berggren.
Sure are, Ken Squire. We've been listening to the radios here, and that's exactly what they're doing. Rusty, a few laps ago, was told, stay out, wait until the 28 comes in, follow the 28 in. But Rusty Wallace just drove in front of the 28 pits, and Ernie Irvan is still on the racetrack. He should be in here in another lap or 2, however.
And Kyle Petty now pits. He was up to 3rd spot. Irvin and Gordon, first and second, have yet to pit. Ernie Irvin out in front and building that lead up to a 10-second advantage in the early going. Stays out there. We are now in lap 62. They should go 100, 105 miles easily here, Neil.
Yeah, they're coming in before they need fuel because they're not handling well. The nightmare that all these people don't want to happen is a caution to come out right now with two cars that haven't pitted and the rest of them been in. Boy, will this scramble the field up there. Everyone hopes they have to go green until the leaders pit.
Now with these pit stops, the advantage is 12.5 seconds between Ernie Irvin and Jeff Gordon as Irvin drives away from the field. Think he's putting too much pressure on that motor?
No, I tell you what, there's Irvin turning down pit road right now, the leader coming in.
Dick Bergman standing by in the Ernie Irvin Robert Yates pits as the Texaco Haviland car eases down. Running against the speed limit. 55 today.
55 on pit road.
Here's Dick Bergman.
Well, these guys have been ready for this one, Ken Squire. They have been absolutely tense on the edge of pit wall. And just before he made this pit stop, Ernie Irvin was told, watch your fuel pressure light. Watch your fuel pressure light. So, they may have stretched the fuel a little bit more than we might have thought. 2 pumps on the jack. Right side tire's already changed. Left side about ready to go. Nice stop. 20.8. Nice stop for Ernie Irvin.
That's about as good a stop as we've seen on pit road already. So, the fast car, fast pit crew, he's going to be hard to handle.
Gordon brings the DuPont Lumina down pit road. Critical stop here. Let's see if he can do any better than what we saw accomplished a moment ago by Ernie Irvin.
This is a young team right here. Young driver, the whole team is young. But I tell you, they get the job done. We'll see what they do with this stop. Gordon mentioned when we interviewed him, he said it's critical our pit stop. Okay, there they go. They're putting some bite in his car, backing off that right rear. That's putting some more bite in the left rear. So he's a tick loose. They're trying to fix some of that. Good stop. 20.2.
Right in there. But still, the man dominating the event, or the team dominating the event, is that car number 28. We're still in the midst of pit stops as we get through lap 64 of the 334 laps to be run. 96 miles are down. We'll get to 100.5 miles at lap 67. We'll take a quick commercial break and be back with you at the Mello Yello 500. Winston Cup Racing on TBS from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Robert, all we need here is some oil and we'll be ready to crank. Okay. Jeff, get us suitcases. I have one. Yes, sir, right away. Robert, we're out. Get us suitcases and fly.
There's only one motor oil that Robert Yates Racing relies on for complete protection. Haviland Formula 3 from Texaco.
That was quick. Yeah, they had it right down the street.
The same Haviland Formula 3 you can use in your car.
Get a free Burger King meal when you buy a case of Haviland Formula 3. But hurry, a deal this tasty can't last long.
Wouldn't it be great if your neighbor was Wally Dallenbach, the Keystone Beer Winston Cup driver?
Wally, great car. Want to take it for a spin, Dave? A spin? And keep her under 170, Dave. 170?
See Wally Dallenbach, or possibly his neighbor Dave, race the Keystone Beer stock car in the Winston Cup Series.
Well, how'd you drive, Dave?
Well, she drifts a little on 3. No problem. But we need to bleed the brakes.
Wouldn't that be great?
At 180 miles an hour, Darrell Waltrip can't afford a bad part.
Ouch, man, that hurt. Like you, I need quality parts at the right price. And at Western Auto, we guarantee it. You'll find thousands of top name brand parts, all backed by Western Auto's unbeatable everyday low price guarantee. Right?
Right, DW. Pick up Castle GTX at Western Auto's low price. Castle GTX provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown.
The right parts, unbeatable low prices. At Western Auto, we guarantee it.
Right, DW.
In my career, I've had a lot of good things happen to me. Of course, there were a few headaches, but that's when I'd reach for a Goody's headache powder, and I'm not alone. In a recent survey, doctors preferred the Goody's Formula 2 by more than 3-to-1 over BC's. And only Goody's beats a headache the way I prefer, in record-breaking time.
All right. Make it good. Make it fast.
70 laps, 105 miles complete. In the 500-mile race to be run at Charlotte, North Carolina on TBS this afternoon, Ernie Irvan out in front. Advantage still better than 10 seconds. Everyone has taken the first stop under green. They're averaging 161 miles an hour through that first 100 miles as you watch cars numbers 2 and 3 battling for 8th position. Rusty Wallace fighting with Earnhardt. That's the slugfest for 8th at the present time. The record for this race is 153 miles an hour. They're running at 161 right now, and the battle for the championship is enjoined right here. Remember, Earnhardt leads Wallace by 72 points coming into this race. And Wallace has been taking points away since the beginning of September in every event, trying to get by him there and not making the mark.
It's crazy how things shake out. One week they'll be battling for the lead, first and second place. The next week they're battling for 8th and 9th place. It seems like no matter what position they are on the racetrack, they're racing each other every week.
Now, after these stops, let's bring you up to date on where we are in the field. 18 cars run in the lead lap. Irvin first, Kyle second, Mark Martin third, Elliott fourth, Sachs fifth, Gordon sixth with the leaders in traffic here. Earnhardt in seventh, Wallace 8th, Spencer 9th, Gant is 10th, Mast 11th, Rudd 12th, Sterling Marlin 13th, Dale Jarrett back in 14th, and Schrader in 15th.
Boy, if you take a look right here, we see Ernie Irvan coming up on Jeff Bodine. He qualified third. So the 28 car is fixing to put that number 7 a lap down, and he was the third place qualifier for the race. We wondered how qualifying would work out. We didn't think it was as instrumental as who would have the car that was good in the race.
Chad Little in the 19 car going another lap down. Where Ernie Irvan is just covering them over.
Run him down hurrying. Jeff Bodine in the 7 car.
18th position.
He's going to try everything he can not to let that 28 by, because he's got to try to stay in that lead lap if the caution comes out.
Irvan leading over Kyle Petty in second spot by 9 8/10 of a second. What a remarkable story Kyle Petty is telling here today. That was a guy that we didn't talk about as one of those manhandlers who could really get out there and turn him sideways. And he's driven as great a first 100 miles as anyone in Charlotte's ever seen. Outstanding run for Kyle Petty.
Yeah, but the key, Ken, is we did mention he's not running it sideways. He's not manhandling sideways. He's the guy we were talking about that eases it down in the corner and squirts it up down the straightaway. He eases his car all the way around that apron and doesn't abuse the tires, doesn't get the car loose. And I'm telling you, it's one of the kind of races he can be tough in. Here we see the 28 making that move. Oh, me, talk about traffic. There's Ernie Irvan trying to put that 7 down, but he's got a lap car that's giving him a little bit of a hard time.
Jerry O'Neill just in front of Ernie Irvan in that 65. Kid from Auburn, New York's been down here several times. And now making his way gingerly down on the bottom of the racetrack. 28, Ernie Irvan. Hard to think of Ernie Irvan in the 28, isn't it?
Yeah, it's easy to make that call. A different number, a different driver. Well, I tell you what, they've got this thing handled around this racetrack. And Yates has always had motors that just rip these straightaways apart.
Last lap, 164 mile an hour in traffic. Ernie Irvan really wound up. Now you see the 3 car. That is Dale Earnhardt, who is in 7th spot. Johnny Hayes is with car owner Richard Childress.
Richard, I see Dale and his old buddy are having a whole lot of fun out there. They can't stand. They got to race side by side, or one's got to pass the other. I see Dale got back. What's going on?
Well, you know, we were just running. We had a bad pit stop there. Our lugs fell off. So, you know, he's having to run the car a little harder right now.
You notice the Atlanta hat, your Braves, they doing pretty good. You think you can hang in there like they are?
Well, we just hope we can do as good as they did so far. So, you know, we pull for them, and some of those guys pull for us, and we're hoping them the best.
Good luck.
Boy, you saw a breathtaking moment there. Mike Wallace in the 52. Greg Sachs got a little piece in the back. Sachs had to step off it right at the worst part of the track when you're on the throttle coming off that corner. Take another gander at this one.
See, Jeff Gordon goes around the outside of the 52 car. He pulls the air off the 52. He slides right up in front of Greg Sachs. Sachs did a great job not to hit him and turn the 52 around. And that was some of the lead cars. There's Earnhardt on the inside. That was a perfect example of what happens without that spoiler car going around the outside of the 52, pull the rear end out from under it.
Nice save by Sachs. Falls back here a bit, but what a great save. He's back in 8th. Earnhardt is in 6th. Rusty Wallace is up to 7th. There's your leader. Ernie Irvin, as he continues to scramble the field, gets around the Kellogg car, the Billy Hagan machine. Terry Labonte moving on next year. John Andretti in this race and back some. He's just getting experience out here, riding another one out. John Andretti is a good addition to the racing. He's in 37th position in Winston Cup racing. Guy's very determined, drives all kinds of race cars. We'll see what comes about in 1994.
And a question for you, Neil Bonnet, from Rick Benjamin down here in the STP Big Communications Center. During the last round of pit stops, Dick Berggren pointed out how Ernie Irvin's team was telling him to watch the fuel pressure gauge, that he didn't go very far on that tank of gas. With these aerodynamic changes, the cars are higher, less spoiler. Are they getting worse fuel mileage now?
I tell you what, Rick, I think the key to that thing is they're not sure. Just like we wasn't sure how it would play out in the race, you've got to be cautious. I think we saw a lot of the leaders pit early until they got that first gauge of what kind of mileage. The 28 was running so good, he wanted to stay out and try to put people down. Now they've got that mileage read, and they'll know what to do. But you're exactly right. That car up in the air is displacing more air, and it's probably burning a lot more fuel.
Irvin has the Ford out in front. 10 seconds plus. All cars are still running after 125 miles. Everybody is still out here. We're showing 82 laps now complete. 334 the distance if you're just joining us. Kyle Petty, there you see him in that second position. From 31st, he's brought that Pontiac up through the field. Great piece of driving by Kyle. And in third spot is Mark Martin. Kyle Petty, how do you rate yourself as a driver?
Today I'm in the top 6 in points, so I'd say I'm in the top 6 in drivers. How about that? But I'm not sure about that. I think we got a real top team, but I'm not sure. I might be in the top 10 in drivers. I think it's taken a long time to get to be in the top 10 in the drivers. But, you know, if I was ranking, I'd probably rank myself 10th.
Right now, he's in second, just 10 seconds back from the leader. But behind him and closing ground is Mark Martin in the number 6. Martin put on a great performance yesterday in the Winn-Dixie 6-cylinder Ford. Got himself his 6th win of the season in that Grand National Series. Every race that Mark Martin has finished in Grand National, there he is, number 6. He's won this year. There you see him up the outside and around Jimmy Sauter. Interval between second and third. Between the 42 and the 6 is 1 9/10 of a second.
I'll tell you, Mark Martin's car in practice, every time you clock it, he's as quick as anyone there. And if you'll remember, we see Mark Martin win a lot of races. He paces himself good. He says, I run the car as hard as I can. I think he runs the car as hard as it feels good, as hard as he knows he can, and still has some car left. This guy can get to the front, and if he does, he can race anybody up there.
85 laps, 127.5 miles have been completed. Now, let's go to Dick Berggren.
Ken, there's more in this number 6 car. Mark Martin has radioed to his crew and said it's a bit loose. Steve Meal, the crew chief, says they can fix that on the next pit stop. Speaking of fixing, believe it or not, they opened up the nose on this car earlier this week. They cut it apart with sheet metal tools, welded pieces in, re-welded it, taped it back over, cleaned it up. No wind tunnel after that change, but they're trying to make both the front stick better and the rear. Looks like it's sticking pretty decent right now.
Looks good. I tell you what, sometimes the best wind tunnel and the best dyno is this big black strip of asphalt out here. Best place to fix a race car is where you got to race it.
The wind tunnel does help a little.
No doubt. I'm just saying, you get in the wind tunnel, you get it close, and then you dial it into each specific racetrack, and they got it working here.
Riding with the Heilig Myers car, number 90. Bobby Hillen giving you these pictures from 21st position. More from the Charlotte Motor Speedway on TBS after these messages.
Could be fuel.
Promotional fees and consideration have been paid by First Brands Corporation, the makers of STP engine treatment. Help stop engine wear before you start. And by Heilig Myers Furniture Company, the proud sponsors of Bobby Hillen's Ford Thunderbird. And by True Value Hardware Stores. Got a tough job to do? They'll see you through it. You can do it with True Value Hardware Stores.
91 laps, 136.5 miles completed at an average speed of 162 miles an hour. Ernie Irvin setting those records. Old record 153 for the 500-mile distance. as you watch Darrell Waltrip here in car number 17, running in 24th. He is a lap down. Waltrip falling a lap down in the early going. Now, at lap 87, Ernie Irvin moved out to lap Ken Schrader, pulled that off. Schrader gave him a bit of a fight. Then, on lap 89, Harry Gant fell off his perch, going down the back straightaway, just backed right up in front of two cars, nearly got collected. He's come into the pits. He's back on the track. Let's get more on the story.
Yes, I've talked with Charlie Presley. Harry Gant cut down a right front tire. Everything's okay with the car. Just cut a tire down.
Thank you, Johnny Hayes.
I tell you what, if you cut out a right front tire and not hit the wall here, they got things going in their direction.
At the right Saint.
Usually a right front here means a big right front dent. Look, he didn't get in the wall.
Saw the 17 car there for a moment, just in front of Gant, who is now back in 35th position. Gant's falling a lap down. He's got some running to do to get himself back in that lead lap. But there's one guy that can get it done here. The last man to win the pole and win this race, Harry Gant, 1982.
There's a guy that not can get it done, but is getting it done. They're going to have to make him repaint that line. He's wearing the bottom line out. And then there's Dale Jarrett directly in front of him. He's in 12th place. The last guy in the lead lap. And that's going to make it 11 cars in the lead. Saw that wiggle off of Jarrett's car when he got behind him there. Just 11 cars left in the lead lap now.
Rick Mast, car number 1 on pit road.
So it's going to make it 10 cars in the lead lap because Mast was the 11th car. Make Ricky Rudd the guy in front of him shooting at.
Here's Kyle Petty in second spot. Here's Dick Berger.
Randy Pemberton, so much of the talk before this race was about the problems the Pontiacs might have, but here you are in second. What's cooking?
I don't know. We got a real good stop that time and gained a couple of spots. The overcast skies really helped us because we're not abusing the tires very much. Ernie still outruns us about 2/10 a lap, and thank God he's run into a lot of traffic so far. So maybe we can work on it later and make a run at him, but we'll see.
I'd say that thing is running a lot better than his expression would indicate.
You're exactly right, Dick Bergeron. They had a good stop, but he started way back in 30-something position and moved up to 4th on the green before that stop. So they got a good stop on him, but he's handling that wheel. He rated it in 10th. I'd rate him about 2nd right now. He's moving up to the front.
Diet makes a difference. Somebody better check out a little restaurant in upstate New York that Pemberton just saw. It's his brother who is working the garage area for us today. Those kids know a whole lot about racing, and they love it. They came out of the Albany-Saratoga Speedway years ago. Of course, Saratoga is a big racing part of the country for thoroughbreds, but all they wanted were thoroughbred modifieds in their younger days. And some of those great modern stars of bygone days, Don McTavish and Bugsy Stevens and Renee Charland used to hang around that restaurant, and those kids, when they were tiny, said someday we're going to be in it. Alan Pemberton is the guy responsible now for the Felix Savettis number 42 for crewing that car. So some of the credit today certainly goes to him.
See what I was telling you about Kyle? If we can run that shot over right now, I promise you, 100 miles from now, if that car is working, that's where Kyle will be. He runs that bottom. He doesn't abuse those tires. He'll ease her in there. He'll stay right on that line, and then he'll feed that throttle up off there. That thing of his runs on the bottom all day. They got it just like he wants it.
They look about as calm and collected as Kyle. The crew for Kyle Petty looking on as he tries to close on Ernie Irvin, but nobody's getting much of him today. He has just checked out. See you later. How about a battle for 4th?
There's Bill Elliott and Earnhardt. Bill's been running high all day. We talked earlier that he had moved up in a real high groove around the racetrack. Bill had a lot of success here with that high line. He's working up there again. Earnhardt's coming under him right here. But Elliott's car should drive in this corner on that outside. Notice he slides up a little bit right there. Two totally different lines around this track.
100 laps are complete, Neil. 150 miles are down, and nary a caution to date. Averaging 162, well over the old record. Ernie Irvin in command here at Charlotte in the 34th running of the Mello Yello 500.
Hey, racing fans, Budweiser asks, who won? May the 12th, 1984, at Nashville International Raceway, 420 laps under the lights. Joe Waltrip in the 11th car started on the pole and seemed to be unstoppable that night. But Richard Petty in the familiar 43 and the 12th car of Neil Bonnet were battling their way to the front two into contention for the victory. Also following close behind Waltrip, Ron Bouchard in the 47. Bouchard in position to win throughout the night. And Jeff Bodine in the 5 car was also a strong contender. He was looking for his second career Winston Cup victory. But who won the finish to this remarkable event in a moment. If you picked Darrell Waltrip, you're right. Here's how the event unfolded. Waltrip and Neil Bonnet in the Junior Johnson cars stole the show from the rest of the pack. They battled back and forth and led all but 3 of the final 184 laps at Nashville. With 2 to go, caution on the speedway. A crash involving Rusty Wallace in the 88, Bobby Allison in the 22 car, and then Kyle Petty in the 7 all getting involved. Well, after the leader Waltrip had already taken the yellow flag, Bonnet zipped around him and was flagged the winner. 2 days later, though, NASCAR ruled Waltrip the winner, saying that Bonnet illegally passed under the caution flag. Who Won is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud.
Well, welcome back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Lap 107. Ernie Irvan still doing it out there. Nothing going on in the garage area. Totally lonely. Thank God I have a television monitor. But this is the inspection station. This is where they're going to bring the top 5 cars, plus 1 other car at random after this race is over to tear them all down. And kind of looks like Ernie Irvan will be in here, among others. But nothing going on in the garage area. Maybe that's because these guys are able to get out of the throttle a little bit right now, saving on those engines. But we got a long way to go. We're going to see some people in here, no doubt about it. Rick Benjamin.
Oh, Randy Pemberton, we're here in the SDP Pit Communication Center with a young driver who many people have expected to move up to Winston Cup racing the last couple of years. It's finally going to happen for Steve Grissom. Congratulations. What was your announcement today?
Thanks, Rick. I tell you, this is a super opportunity for Steve Grissom to be teamed up with Carolyn and Gary Bechtel at Diamond Ridge Racing. They've really took the right steps, got the right people in place, and we're looking forward to 94.
You're going to have Mark Reno as your crew chief on a team that's really got some Winston Cup experience.
That's true. Mark's will be the crew chief. Eddie Jones will be the team manager, and running Hendricks Motors, and we've got some of their people kind of the management part of it, but you know, something we're looking forward to. Really got the key ingredients there, and we're just going to give it all we got next year.
Let's call your new car owner in Gary Bechtel. This is a big step for your operation. You've been active in Winston West and a few Winston Cup races.
Yes, we are. We're very excited with Steve's hooking up with us. We're going to try to go after the Winston West Championship next year with John Krebs, and Steve coming on board out here. We're really excited about what we can do.
All right, good luck to you, Steve Grissom, currently the Busch Grand National point leader. Hope you can win a championship there.
All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Gary Bechtel is in construction business, they say. Some construction. Isn't that the guy that built the tunnel from France under the English Channel over to Great Britain?
One of the biggest construction companies in the world. Yeah. But I've got to tell you what, y'all held me off the air a long time after you showed that finish at Nashville, and I still think I won that race. You'll say what you want to say.
Give it up. Give it up. How many years ago was that?
It doesn't matter. I don't care if it's 30 years ago, I think I still won.
110 laps are complete here today. Neil Bonnet alongside. I knew that was going to cause trouble if they showed that thing. See, they didn't tell him they were going to do it. And the minute you get that one up, it's like a red flag in front of Bonnet.
I'll be back in a minute. I'm going over to NASCAR.
111 laps are complete. Here's Rick Wilson bringing the STP car down pit road. We now have 8 cars in the lead lap. They are Irvin first, Kyle Petty second, Mark Martin third, Earnhardt fourth, Jeff Gordon fifth, Elliott, Rusty Wallace, and Greg Sachs. They stay the top 8. 1 lap down in 9th is Ricky Rudd, followed by Dale Jarrett, Ken Schrader. Marlin is in 12th, Lake Speed 13th, Brett Bodine is 14th, Jeff Bodine is 15th, Terry Labonte is 16th, Strickland 17th, Hillen 18th, Trickle and Darrell Waltrip round out the top 20. Jimmy Spencer was just back in the pits. He's gone another lap down. He shows
2 laps away in 21st, followed by Wally Dallenbach, 22nd. Then the Wilson car that we just had on pit road, 23rd. Then Morgan Shepherd, Rick Nash, Rick Dickel, Mayfield running 27th, number 95. Michael Waltrip, 28th, and Harry Gant is back to 29th after he had that flow when he had a tire go down on him up in turn number 2, and how he didn't get in the walls beyond us. Great run. Heilig Meyer's car giving us a great platform to watch. Dale Earnhardt running in 3rd spot, closing down. Bobby Hillen giving you these pictures, and you see Earnhardt right down on that stripe, just holds it right there. Your old hunting buddy's looking pretty good, even though he's getting covered over by Ernie Irvan.
I tell you, he was looking good. That 28 car. It's hard to believe how he's that. There's Earnhardt staying that low line right there. Hillen saw him coming. A lot quicker car. Give him that running room. Now the key is to get right back in behind there and try to go with him. You start fighting a lot. Both of you lose ground. Now the deal is to fall right back in behind him and try to follow him and get a little bit of pull for a while. See Hillen drop back in behind Earnhardt. That's the smartest thing to do, to pull over, let him go, and try to go with him.
Yeah.
68 car coming down pit road. Greg Saxon, he was in 8th position. He was the last guy in the lead lap. He's coming down pit road.
Michael Waltrip right with him in the Penzo car. The country time, 68 is in. Here's Dick Burke.
Well, this is by far the best run Greg Saxon's ever had in Charlotte. His best finish in this race so far, in 11th. They have just added a new crew chief to this team, Dennis Connor, and he has made a huge difference. The team is all smiles this morning. They thought they had a shot to win it, and they just might. 21.9, good pit stop for this crew.
So we're getting back toward a pit stop period of the race with 116 laps now complete of the 334 to be run. From the Charlotte Motor Speedway, some great aerials being provided by Rebestas, the best in brakes. Back shortly.
Robert, we're ready.
Okay. Got it warmed up?
Yeah.
Before a Robert Yates engine makes it to the track, it's torture tested right here.
Now let's do it.
And there's only one motor oil Yates relies on for complete protection, Haviland Formula 3. The same Haviland Formula 3 you can buy right off the shelf.
215 degrees, 8,700.
That's race ready.
Haviland Formula 3 motor oil from Texaco.
Run it like a winner. That'll get the job done.
Mark Martin coming out of pit road in lap 120. We've completed 180 miles. Consider this, with all cars still running the event, one of the point contenders, as you see the leaders here, Irvin, Petty, Martin, Dale Earnhardt, and Jeff Gordon, experiencing trouble. Weigh very heavily today with all these guys out here running. Mark Martin going all the way around. They're putting some more wedge in that one.
Not only that, you see the guy beating the rear spoiler up. He was changing the angle, so Mark must still be really loose. They're doing a couple of 3 different things at a time to try to fix that car. Good stop.
20 and 9/10 seconds. Excellent stop for Gordon, trying to make up a little time. Coming down pit road, Jeff Gordon in car number 24.
Leaders starting to come in. They're all coming in early. They're not going long runs like we thought they would. See him beating the rear spoiler up. That guy holding the gas can, taking his right hand and knocking that rear spoiler up, trying to nail the back of that car down a little bit more. Well, he got one out of line. That center section, you want to keep it even across through there.
If any of those point leaders have trouble, Neil, in this race, with all of these cars still running, there's going to be a remarkable change in the points. If anybody should fall out in the next 30 or 40 miles, and you've still got so many cars out here.
Yeah, nobody in the garage here. We just did. Randy, you might as well go ahead and have that surgery. Don't look like you have any business in the garage.
Record for most cars running at the finish of the Mello Yello 500. 4 times they've had 28 running. Everybody that started still out here, 42 strong.
Got some of the leaders coming here. Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt coming down pit road. There's Earnhardt coming in. Just saw Gordon. Some of the other top drivers in.
Watch Earnhardt's crew go to work here.
They said the lug nut fell off one of the wheels a while ago. We saw a little over 20 seconds. See if this one's any better.
Earnhardt running in 3rd when he pitted.
a little bit quicker than before, 20.2. Here comes Rusty Wallace. Now he's turning down pit road. Just as Earnhardt goes out, Wallace comes in.
Fourth place car as he pits. In the Miller Genuine Draft car, Rusty Wallace on pit road, trying to close 72 points behind Earnhardt. If either of them have trouble today with the number of cars still out there on the field, it could make a dramatic difference in the point battle.
Yeah, you got to be running today when this one's over, or you're going to be in trouble. Those two guys have got to be running when it's over.
Ricky Rudd on pit road, running a lap down in 6th position. They finished the work on Rusty Wallace.
Yep, don't think that's wrong. 18.7. I'm telling you, those guys crank those stops out for him every time.
Elliott comes onto pit road and almost tags the 5, and here comes Ernie Irvan, the leader. Leader is in. Johnny Hayes.
Watch the Jackman on this car. First team All-Pro, the best in the business. One of the top pit crews going. This is the payoff. You have to keep that big lead. Watch them work. They're beautiful. Poetry in motion.
Two pumps on that jack. It's up there. Joey Knuckles on that left front. To the guy doing the rear. Jack down. When that jack man lets off that handle, that's the cue. Drop the clutch. He's gone. 18.3.
Nice stop. At lap 126. Kyle Petty's team in. Dick Berggren there.
Ken, this is not a good pit stop. Petty overshot his pit. They had to push the car back in order to get him lined up. It is going to be a very slow pit stop. Good thing he's got a fast car. This is the same car that led the most laps in this race last year and finished third in it. Petty's gone. Slow stop, though.
Dick, not only did the 42 have trouble, we told Bill Elliott came down pit road 32 seconds in the pit. I'm not sure what happened. I see Junior Johnson, the NASCAR inspectors, in a big argument on pit road.
Junior and the 11 car and the 5 nearly got ruffled there, and there may be a penalty coming up on car number 11. Let's get one of the pit reporters down there with Junior's crew right off. You can see the debate still going on.
That's not a debate. That's an argument, I believe. Ken, I think they're going at it.
There's Junior.
Yeah, he just crawled back over the wall. When I looked down, Junior was on the other side of the fence, and he was helping with this argument. I'm not sure what's up. We saw him come down. We saw the 5 car. They had to dodge him. That might be the problem. He's trying to tell Junior, I got it straightened out.
Looked to me like you're saying, Junior, I didn't get it straightened out. It's your turn.
Yeah, but you got to give Junior some kind of an answer, I promise.
I tell you what, a story like that, that's where you need Johnny Hayes. Put John down there and see what happened. Here's the 11. That's the Junior Johnson car. John?
I wouldn't want to be the NASCAR official down here, buddy. They call for too many men over the wall, but they're in total disagreement. Everybody got back, so you got it on TV. I don't know, but I wouldn't like to be the guy that standing in front of Junior Johnson's mic beam.
Well, it looks at the time like they won the battle because I don't see any kind of black flag or anything on the 11 car, so maybe they got the point across. I mean, they head over.
We're coming to lap 130 of the 334 to be run. If you're just joining us, nary a sign of caution thus far in the race. 195 miles. Let's look again at this car number 11, the Budweiser car, making its pit stop. You see him getting trapped there by Ricky Rudd coming out for a moment, gets himself in. Now you count them.
Trying to count heads here. Henry Benefield coming over with a gas can. They let one guy clean the windshield. That's the only thing I see.
Al Jr. straps back on the headset. He'll have a word with Bill about it and tell him what he thinks. Probably in about 3 words. Back in a moment.
Derek Koch takes you for a 170-mile-an-hour ride around the high banks of Charlotte Motor Speedway during the Mello Yello 500. There's Koch working down low into the corner number 2 out onto the back straightaway. Great to have you along for the ride today on TBS. I'm Rick Benjamin in the STP Pit Communications Center. We've talked a lot today about the point battle. Only 3 more Winston Cup races to go this year after today's event. 72 points, the point margin between Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace at this point. Dale Jarrett in 3rd spot right now, about 300 points behind. He's been very consistent. Mark Martin rode all the way to 4th off those 4 victories in a row a few weeks ago. Morgan Shepherd, another picture of consistency in 5th. Then Kyle Petty. We're going to show you the next 6. Kenny Schrader's been very consistent. Ernie Irvin, who's had 2 rides but has done very well. Elliott, Rudd, Gordon, Jimmy Spencer, unheralded in many respects. Very consistent year for him, too, and he is rounding out the top 12.
Thanks, Rich Benjamin. We've completed 136 laps, 204 miles. The average speed stays at 161. It's a killer speed for this race. 153, the old record. And there you see the guy who's doing it all, Ernie Irvin, for the moment.
This guy and 3 more have completed 136. The rest of them have done 135. I'm telling you, he is wearing them out. He's getting the whole field just about a lap down at the pace he's running. He has 5 cars in the lead lap. Excuse me, 7 cars in the lead lap right now.
Martin, Kyle Petty, Earnhardt, Gordon, Spencer in 5th, being shown in that lead lap. Rusty Wallace in 6th, and 7th, Ernie Irvin. Now that's a weird recall because that's not what it is on the racetrack at all. Those are the cars that they're showing in the lead lap. Now let's go back to how they run. Ernie Irvin first, Mark Martin, Kyle Petty, Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Spencer, and Rusty Wallace complete the top 7.
Yeah, Rusty's the last guy in the lead lap.
Here's Dick Burke.
Major story on the number 28, the leader, Ernie Irvin, Ken Squire. He started missing about 2 laps ago. They switched ignition boxes. It has not helped. The engine still missing. That's what they were worried about before the start of the race, the engine.
Well, I tell you what, Dick, he's still cranking out some fast laps, but if he's calling for a miss in that thing, there must be something wrong. But that thing of Yates might be just as good on 7 as the rest of them are on 8.
It certainly appears that way. I think they're trying to psych him. I mean, he's drawing away from everybody out here. Here's Johnny Hayes.
Kid, we've had a major weather change. It was hot and sunny. Now it's cloudy. Temperatures dropped about 10 degrees. I used to own a Winston Cup car. Benny Parsons drove for me. We almost lapped the field in the first half of the race here. Turned cloudy. We had trouble holding on to the lead lap. Pit crews are going to have to get real busy.
I'll tell you what happens when something like this does occur with the overcast coming in. Sometimes you'll see a different cast of characters go to the front. A guy's car that was too loose a while ago now might get too tight in this cloud. So we'll have to see if anything changes with the leaders moving up through the field.
141 laps to complete. Most cars running at the finish on a super speedway. 50.
How many?
50.
How many did they start? 100?
75.
Okay.
1950, 7,500 down there at Darlington.
I don't know if I'd want to go home and tell him about qualified 74. But I still wasn't on the rear. I'm trying to watch the 28 cars while we're watching this right here to see if he's losing pace. Here he comes. Look at, he says he's got a miss in the car, but that's some good race cars. He's still going around.
Yeah, he's got 20 seconds on the field. Here he is up on Jimmy Spencer.
Well, he's coming around.
That's a 7th place car. He's about to lap.
Yeah, he's going around Spencer.
Race car, that's a mowing machine.
Let me tell you what, if he's got a miss, the only thing he's missing is the true story here. That thing sure looks stout to me.
Mark Martin's 2nd spot. Kyle Petty is 3rd. Jeff Gordon is set on the pole, is back in 5th position. 500 miles the distance. Oh, we got a car in the wall.
Coming off 4.
Sliding, spinning, and he's all the way around to that Raymont car. Collecting the wall a 2nd time. First caution of the day comes at lap 143 of 334 to be run. Caution out for the first time.
Boy, Rusty Wallace was right on the verge of being lapped. The 12 has beaten the 28 back to the line. 28 had to live. 12 beat him back. Also, it was the 12 and the 2 that got a reprieve with that caution. Rusty was fixing to go down, but that's what it takes for championship. Good cars, good luck.
So there you see Todd Bodine taking the Raymont car back to the garage. We actually have a 2nd car back here. We say that everybody's running. The 85 they're working on. It hasn't come out in some time, but that 75 looks badly bashed. Let's take a look at what happened.
It's going to happen coming off turn 4. See if we can pick him up. Oh, the car gets loose. We'll see the back end come out. He's going to correct to the right. Wham! Right at the camera. Took the right front back off the car, and he goes across track. Watch these guys behind him now. You got a couple of people are going to pass him high. We see the 68 car of Greg Sachs cutting through the grass. There's Bill Elliott coming along.
Now watch
Mike
Spencer.
Waltrip. Boy, I'll tell you what, he got it out by the wall and kept it out there. But while this was going on, Spencer was able to beat the 28 back to the line. Also Rusty Wallace.
Here's the 28 car on pit road. Let's go to Dick Berger.
Well, Ken Squire, they were just as confused here on pit road as we were in the broadcast because they heard the same stuff we were hearing, which is Ernie Irvan saying the car has a miss. He switched the boxes. That made no difference. Then he switched the coils on this thing, and that seemed to cure it. Yeah. So the problem has gone away. Right now, they're in the process of a 4-tire change here. The hood is going to stay down, and there are a lot more smiles in the 28 pit right now than about 2 laps ago.
Yeah, they have dual ignitions in these cars. Dual coils, dual electric boxes and everything, and the driver can switch it from in the driver's seat. So I guess he changed everything and got it working.
All right, let's see if we can get a word right now with the man who has dominated the race, Ernie Irvan. Ernie, Ken Squire at TBS Control. Do you read us? Ernie?
He's going up through the gears. I don't know if you can hear us.
Gets himself onto the back straightaway here. We'll try again in a moment to get him. 145 laps are now complete. 217.5 miles down. And the 500 to be run today. Moving toward halfway. First caution of the day comes out for young Bodine. 147 laps, 220 miles down. And let's get the story of what happened to Todd Bodine right from the man himself. Our cameras.
Here we see the car. This is after he spun, coming back across the track. Right in the outside wall.
Ooh. Butch Mock's car. I say Ray Mock. Butch Mock taking over that team. Heads forward. Caution stays out on the track. Michael Waltrip is in. We'll be going down to Todd Bodine in just a moment, standing by down there after he took that hit. We're getting ready for a restart, and let us set it for you right now. 148 complete when they come to the line. Ernie Irvan will be leading. Kyle Petty will be in second. Mark Martin will be third. Earnhardt fourth. Gordon fifth. Rusty Wallace sixth. Spencer in seventh. Those are the cars in the lead lap after that daring move by Spencer in the Meineke car to get himself back in the lead lap. 8th is Ricky Rudd, a lap down, followed by Bill Elliott 9th, Sterling Marlin 10th, 11th is Schrader, 12th is Sachs, and we have Dale Jarrett 13th, Lake Speed 14th, Jeff Bodine 15th, Terry Labonte 16th, and Rick Mast. Light is off on the pace car as we get ready for another go here. The late stop by Michael Waltrip has him playing catch-up. He's driving quickly around the track. Joe Nemechek brings number 4 down pit road, gets himself set for a last-moment stop. Darrell Waltrip back in 23rd position. Darrell Waltrip, a couple of laps down. Here's Dick Berger.
Ken, the real problem with the 28 car, believe it or not, is there's a whole bunch of switches on the dashboard of that thing that control the ignition system. Ernie Irvan hasn't been driving that car long enough to know what all the switches are for. So he's been fumbling around trying to figure out which one it was. They think it's the coil switch that fixed it. They have a new coil ready. It will go in the car if they have further problems. At the moment, it's okay, but that's why there was confusion.
I tell you, Dick, that's easy to do because you have a ignition box 1, coil 1. You got to get the right set of sequences, and I can understand him being new with it and having that problem.
Flag is down, field is away. Let's see if Kyle can close in at all. Ricky Rudd trying to get back to last. Goes right down to the bottom with Mark Martin. 2 of them trying to pace themselves here. Martin trying to pull up. He is in 3rd spot. Picked up the spot. Tight running as they get into turn number 3. Here comes Ernie Irvan out in front. Mark Martin up to second. Kyle falling back a bit here. Kyle back 2 spots. Martin and Earnhardt both go by him. On board with Bobby Hilling.
Well, Kyle, something's happened. Kyle was on the right side of the start. Fell way back. He's still dropping back. And Bill Elliott around. 12 car. Spencer.
7th goes Kyle. That is the battle for 6, and Spencer has it. Kyle was right up there on the restart in the runner-up position. Not true anymore. Kyle still falling back.
I'm not so sure Kyle's back down where he runs good on the inside. He got caught outside. That might be what hurt him.
Now take a look at your favorite car here as they go into turn number 1. Actually out of that dogleg and into 1. Meanwhile, back straightaway. Ricky Rudd in 8th position, trying to get that lap back. Forms his own team next year. Very close to announcing a crew chief. Here's Earnhardt to the outside around Mark Martin. Back to third, to second storms Earnhardt. Martin falls to third. Well, right now, Ernie Irvin's not getting away. Ricky Rudd's hanging on pretty stout.
Yeah, Rudd's trying to get that lap back. Car's real strong. He's got Earnhardt behind him. See if the two of these guys can do anything with Irvin.
Nobody has been able to overtake Ernie Irvin all day. It's been all his own way. He's blitzed the field. But for the moment, he seems to be contained. Earnhardt drafting with Ricky Rudd. And that combination Chevy's trying to pull down the Yates Ford Thunderbird. The Ford stays in front as it has all day. But for the first time, it's under some pressure. Ernie Irvin in front. Ernie, you've adjusted to your new ride faster than anyone could predict.
Basically, I think a lot of it revolves around it's such a good race team, and I got a lot of experience, a lot of the tracks that when you get, those things together, then it doesn't take long. Larry McReynolds has really done a great job working with me and just giving me the right setup so when we get there, we don't change much. So a lot of that probably revolves around all the testing he did with Davey.
Back straightaway, Earnhardt has moved around Rudd, and now he's ready to challenge. Rudd falling back, trying to make up that lap, but now he finds himself about 15 car lengths behind, and here comes Earnhardt moving in. Is anyone going to overtake Ernie Irvin here today? We could find out on the next 5 laps. We're at lap 156. Closing in on the halfway mark. 234 miles are now complete.
The 28 has led every lap but one, but that was because of the cautions and different things. But I tell you, he's led every lap. No one's been able to take that lead.
That race summary is going to be a short summation. All Irvin and 1 caution. Speed stays at 153.296. That's about where the record is. They can build from here. Now Ernie Irvin draws away. See it build back to 10, 12 car lengths.
That's the way he was able to do earlier in the race. Just gradually pick a little bit of distance on him. Earnhardt really drives down hard at 3. Gained a little bit of ground there, but the 28 is strong up off that corner. See Earnhardt closes up going in the corner. 28 stretches it down the straightaway.
There's Schrader in the 25. He's back in 11th position, 1 lap down. Sterling Marlin, the 8th, right with him, getting around him. Kyle Petty's 42 is in 7th, and he still seems to be stumbling a bit here.
Yes, fell back a little bit. Here we see the leaders again. See Earnhardt close the gap as they enter the corner. He's able to close down a little bit, and then the 28 car front can pull him just down the straightaway enough to get that distance back. Let's follow him around again. That seems to be the characteristic. Earnhardt getting in the corner hard here. Can close up a little bit of ground, and watch this 28 when he comes up this back straightaway.
And you know why Earnhardt is pressing so hard as we come toward halfway.
Leads 5 bonus points. Watch the distance right here as they enter the 3rd turn. You see him try to close it down going in. See, close that gap up going in the corner through the middle. And then he's been losing the distance back down this straightaway. Yeah, it's critical. He'd like to lead a lap with that points battle, just like Rusty Wallace is wanting to get up there if he can and lead every point. So we're coming up on a lap car right here. Held the 28 up a little bit, a critical spot. See Earnhardt close him up. That little bit of lift off the throttle, put him right on him.
Earnhardt to the inside, desperately wanting. There aren't many bonus points. Most laps led will give you 5 points. Leading any lap would give a guy 5 points, but only 5. Coming down to the line, they're side by side. Here's Earnhardt trying to get him. Well, I don't think he made it. He was there. That's for first place.
Keep in mind when we watch this about leading a lap, it's not scored at the start-finish line until the checkered flag. The scoring is done off of turn 4 at the line up until the last lap. So he's got to lead back around this lap.
Indeed. Good point, and he's coming around this time. It's right as you come off 4 until that last lap. Or, in the matter of scoring them.
Right there.
Right there.
Just as they went across, the scoring stand is down there. All scoring's done there until the last lap.
Except if you're making up a lap.
Yeah, if you're making a lap at the start-finish line.
18th race that Earnhardt has led this year out of the 26 previous. We're in race number 27.
Maybe we need to get Dick Berger or somebody back in the 28 pin and see if that miss has come back, or has Earnhardt picked up the pace.
Earnhardt leading for the first time this afternoon. Irvin in second. This race with this many cars running, we only have 2 cars back. The Butch Mock car, Bodine in the 85, and let's see where the 85 is. We need to check on 85. I think Sauter has come back out many laps down, but he's running, so only one has fallen out. If either Wallace or Earnhardt should have a problem here, it would make a major difference in the point battle. 3 races to go. Rockingham, North Carolina, then Phoenix, Arizona, and finally November 14th, Atlanta, Georgia. Now there's Rusty Wallace, who is running in 5th. Remember, he is running in the lead lap. Earnhardt, Irvin, Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace make up the top 5. So what do you think? Ooh, look at this. Right back comes Ernie Irvin another time. Well, first.
Yeah, I was wondering if he had a miss or something. It looks like that thing's not missing much. He's coming back. Let's go down to Johnny Hayes.
Yes, I just talked with Robert Yates. He said the car still has a slight hesitation or miss, plus the weather conditions made the car start pushing. The cloudiness is making these cars push, and so it has affected them somewhat.
That might answer for the reason that we've seen people be able to stay with a 28 more so than the first of the race. At the first, nobody could touch them.
Now take a look at the top 5 and the interval between them as they come around here. Irvin going back in front and stretching to a 10-car length advantage. Earnhardt stays in second. Now let's look back and see what the difference is. 165, 166 complete. Next time by, it's 10 laps to halfway. Well, there you see the interval from the leader, Dale Earnhardt, back to Rusty Wallace. We'll have more from the Mello Yello 500 in Charlotte after these messages. At Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Mello Yello 500. You're watching Ernie Irvin battling with Dale Earnhardt. And what a contest it is at the mid-distance of this 500-mile, 334-lap contest. Battle continues around the track, and at this point, it's a Ford Chevy contest. Rest of the race is very stable for the moment. Earnhardt came up, gave Irvin a very good run, now is settled back into second place. Earlier this week, U.S. Air Force Reserve Commander's Performance Award was given by Lieutenant Colonel Ron Hall to Jeff Gordon.
Hi, racing fans. This is Lieutenant Colonel Ron Hall presenting another Air Force Reserve Commander's Performance Award. But before I do, I wish to say that because of budget restraints, I regret that this will be the Air Force Reserve's last presentation. From the depth of my heart, I wish to thank Ken Squire and his staff and all you racing fans out there for what has been a tremendous 7 years for me and 10 years for the Air Force Reserve. Now for today's events, with me today to receive the Commander's Performance Award is Mr. Jeff Gordon. Jeff, congratulations on your winning the pole for the Mello Yello 500. Jeff, this award is very special for the Air Force Reserve because it recognizes individuals who have exceptional leadership and talent while participating in a team sport. Jeff started racing at the age of 5. He's come up through the midget circuit into the Grand Nationals. Now he's in the Winston Cup. Jeff, the Air Force Reserve is excited about your future. Please accept this award on behalf of the Air Force Reserve.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank the Air Force for their involvement in racing. I think it's very exciting. I'm very honored and very proud to receive this award. Thank you.
Good recipient, Jeff Gordon, running fourth at the present time, set on the pole at 177 miles an hour, the 22-year-old from Pittsburgh, Indiana. He's just behind Ernie Irvin, Dale Earnhardt, and Mark Martin. Pretty good company for a kid from Indiana these days. Hoosier now out of Indiana, originally California lad. There's Roger Penske, Don Miller right to his right, and Don Miller, of course, the man who is directly in charge of car number 2. Roger Penske overseeing that car, and I'm sure he's giving some instructions up there.
Hey, I tell you what, that's just like Roger Penske. He could have any seat in the house, and he's standing up on the roof watching his race car run.
Well, if the race ended right now with Earnhardt second and Wallace back there, Dale would gain 20 points, Wallace in 5th, and that would stretch that lead back to 92 points. But we're at half distance, and there's a long way to go in this one. As they say, something's got to give. You can't have these many cars running this. Why do you feel, Neil, that we're not seeing the kind of attrition that we've seen before? We've had one car in the wall, no engine problems to speak of. We've had this little rumor about that car number 28 out in front, but they're not blowing them up today.
But that's electrical with a 28. Ken, these motors, the last 2 or 3 years here, you've been able to hold the car almost wide open. You drive it so deep in the corner, barely roll out of the throttle, get back in it. You were really abusing the motors. In turn, they built stronger and better pieces for the cars. This is actually easier on the motor. You've got a motor that's been built into, tested and built into one level of competition, and then you back that strain down on it, so they're just more bulletproof than ever. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of attrition.
Now, again, if you're just joining us, the minimum front air dam has been cut from 3.5 inches up to 5 inches. The rear spoiler, that's down from 6.5 to about, 5.7. And the minimum roof height is up an inch. And that's what they've done to try to bring these cars back, to get them more in the driver's hands. And they're having to lift a little earlier off those throttles and ease into them a little more gingerly into these corners. And the big story here is it seems to be saving motors.
Yeah, it's just not abusing them as much. Just pound, just lay it on the floor, just smash it hard as you can, drive it deep, get off, just slam the pedal to the floor. They have to use a little more finesse with how they work that throttle.
Here's Randy.
Talk about the lack of attrition, guys. Todd Bodine, of course, involved in that one-car accident. He did come up and speak with me. I said, what happened? He said, I flat lost it. He's small in stature, but it takes a big man to admit that they lost a race car. So that goes back to what Ken, you and Neil were talking about. No engine failures as to right now. Todd Bodine simply lost the car. No other related problems in that accident. So that's it. Just one car back here. Jimmy Sauter was here earlier. They broke a shock mount. He was back out.
Derek Cope giving us these pictures, traveling over 160 mile per hour average around the Charlotte Motor Speedway, tending right to his knitting. Here's Rick Benjamin.
Well, Ken Squire, we've been racing now for about 2 hours, and we've noticed the conditions have really changed a lot here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We've talked about that in the last few moments. Johnny Hayes describing for us what it does to a race car, how it'll tighten up a race car. It's gotten very cloudy here. We went over to the NASCAR trailer where they keep a very close watch on the weather conditions. It's gotten very cloudy. A front has moved in, but they say there is no threat of rain. There are no thunderstorms in the area. It's cooled off, and it is darker now, but there's nothing to worry about in terms of getting the rest of the race in. So really, it's a matter of crews having to adjust to slightly different atmospheric conditions more than worrying about rain today.
25th position was Cope, running a couple of laps down with 180 of 334 now in the book. 24-degree banking, 1,500-foot straightaway, main straightaway, 1,300 feet in the backstretch. and right here where you peel off into turn number 1, considered the quickest part of the course. Ernie Irvan continuing to dominate. Here you see the 25 car. Ken Schrader fighting with Dale Jarrett. That is a struggle for 10th position. Dale Jarrett had a bad qualifying time, trying to make up for it now, and closes in on Schrader. Struggle for 10th. Another aerial camera view, courtesy of Rebestis, the best in brakes. We'll be back with more of the Mello Yello 500 from Charlotte on TBS following these messages.
Keystone Beer presents a NASCAR profile. Today, Kyle Petty. Kyle is one of the most colorful drivers on the Winston Cup circuit. On the track, he's one of the flashiest drivers there is. Through the years, he's evolved from a financially struggling driver into a contender with potential to win a Winston Cup championship. The early days were a struggle for young Kyle Petty. That's right, a struggle. Frequent mechanical failures and crashes kept him out of victory lane. And a year after Father Richard left, Petty Enterprises' team was financially on the ropes. Then the Wood brothers came along and gave Kyle the opportunity to prove that he could win. In 1986, he drove to victory at Richmond. He inherited the lead after Dale Earnhardt and Darrell Waltrip tangled with 3 laps to go. Kyle's next big league stock car victory came a year later at NASCAR's longest race, the 600-miler in Charlotte. Soon after, Kyle's winning talent caught the eye of businessman Felix Sabates. In 1989, Kyle took a chance and signed with the newly formed team owned by Sabates. It turned out to be the right move, and as the years have gone by, that team has evolved into a contender for the championship. In 1993, Kyle has come on strong, winning a super speedway event at Pocono and running up front consistently. Currently, he's in the top 10 in Winston Cup points.
Kyle Petty in 6th position here as this record crowd looks on at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Sold out weeks in advance. Big crowd out yesterday. Estimate was around 70,000. Looks like you can double it today. Infield packed, those grandstands mobbed. Everyone out to enjoy a great day of racing. They get down toward the end of the season. Rockingham coming up. Then they're out to Phoenix, Arizona, the Buddy Job's great facility in which they've done so much in improvement. And then Atlanta, Georgia. Second week in November will decide the 1993 campaign. There's a big announcement today that Toshiba is going to put up $1 million challenge in that last race if a driver can capture that 500 on November 14th from the pole position and win the Winston Cup Championship down to a couple of guys. The whole thing's worth in excess of $2.25 million. They're calling it the Toshiba $1 Million Challenge. That is some announcement.
Let me tell you what, it can boil down to that. If, say, Rusty Wallace or Earnhardt, top guys go down there and settle on a pole and win the race, it's worth over $1 million to them. You'll be seeing some guys trying to get qualified up front down there.
Yeah, never mind a championship. Go for the race. You know, that'll change the whole business of how you run that last race. Ernie Irvan here today has led all but 4 laps. You think he could get close to that? He'll take it. He'll try. He would try for it, but he's not up in the points close enough for a crack at the championship. There you see the car number 7. We just amble back through the field here a bit, and that is Jeff Woodine. He's running 18th at the present time. Again, showing up in colors of his own team, the late Alan Kowicki. A little slide there as he came out.
Yeah, that's why he's back a little bit. Some of the guys are hitting it right. They're not slipping. The rest of them are sliding.
Earnhardt in 2nd spot as we just amble back through the field and show you how they're running. Earnhardt in 2nd spot to Ernie Irvan as we fade back through here. 1st to 2nd's about, 2 7/10 seconds. And there you see Mark Martin, and he is 3rd overall in the race. Martin running in 3rd spot, just a bit further back. Remember, we're at lap 192. Got to run more than 300 laps, 334 to make the distance today, so still a lot can happen. Jim Sauter, he was in, he's running about 30 laps down, but he's back out here, so there's only one car that's officially retired with Sauter back on the track. Then comes Ricky Rudd. He's driving the number 5 Tide car in the 8th position, a lap down. Gave it a good stout run up at the beginning of this race and tried to overtake Ernie Irvin. Then in those pit stops, got caught, and he's running from a lap down at the present time. Looking further back there, you've got Jeff Gordon in 4th place, our pole sitter, having a very good day. Bobby Labonte's been closing on him in that rookie battle, Neil, but right now it's dramatically the other way. Bobby Labonte's back in 33rd.
It's the first Mello Yello 500 he's ever ran. Got quite a run going.
Just trails by 6 seconds to the leader right now. Now there you see Rusty Wallace. He is in 5th spot in that Pontiac. Roger Penske a moment ago looking on. Not much you can do but wait a bit here. You're in that center part of the race where things have stabilized and you've got to ride it out for a while to get yourself set up for that last 100, last 50 miles. Take a look at the 52 car. Mike Wallace out of St. Louis. Jimmy Means number, Jimmy Means car. He's back there in 32nd position.
First time he's ran in the Mello Yello 500 also.
Yeah, you'd wish that Jimmy Means would have some good things happen. He sure gives it the best of the tries. It's 42, Kyle Petty, running in 6th position in the race. Kyle coming down by. And directly behind him is the Chad Little car out of Spokane that's several laps down. Running in 40. And closing up in here, Mark Martin coming after Earnhardt in the 3. 2nd spot. Challenge. Earnhardt there. Martin coming after. When you talk about great performances, Irvin having led all but 4 laps today. Back to some of the great performances like Fireball Roberts when he led all the way. 250-mile super speedway race out in California. He used to run at Hanford way back in the early 60s. And of course, David Pearson, he led all but 1 lap. 1973 at Rockingham. What a show he put on.
You know, we saw Mark Martin in practice all week be able to put up the same kind of mile per hour, the same kind of lap times as the leader, the 28 car. Boy, he got the back end hook on, didn't he, though? Now he's right up there with Earnhardt. The question is, can he, if he can get around Earnhardt, maybe he's got something for Ernie Irvin.
Ford, Chevy, Ford. 1st, 2nd, 3rd in the Mello Yello 500. Charlotte, North Carolina. 4 races to go, including today. Coming up on 200 laps complete and a couple of 3:34 to be run.
See him going around some lap cars, so Earnhardt work off right down the front straightaway. Mark Martin directly in behind him. When you have to go around one of these lap cars, if you clear him before you get the corner, it makes a big difference. Earnhardt was able to clear that car. Mark Martin had to go around him and look at the gap open up. Just a little bit of not being able to use the bottom of that track cost him about 6 positions.
Bobby Hamilton.
6 car lengths, I'm sorry, Tim.
Lap car on the inside. Bobby Hamilton there, Neil. Keeping it tucked down, let him get through. We'll take a commercial break right now as Ernie Irvin continues to stomp and storm through the field here this afternoon at Charlotte. More of the action coming up shortly.
Dan. Gentleman places his right arm under the lady's left shoulder blade, opposite arm in the air, and...
Slow, twist. You could be watching the news right now. Headline news. A whole day's news every half hour.
Folks, I want to let you see the Michelangelo of a drill press. This is 73-year-old James Luter. He's been around this thing from day one. He's 5 times All-Pro, best machinist in the world. This is the man and everybody's hero on pit road. What a guy.
James Luter.
When he says drill press, not that, but all the mills, everything it takes to make the parts for that 28 car, I'm telling you, the man is quite a machinist.
204 laps are complete. We're getting back into a pit stop period here. Mark Martin closing in again on Earnhardt in the number 3. That's for 2nd spot as Ernie Irvin continues to dominate. We'll check that interval between 1st and 2nd spot for you another time. 4 3/10 seconds between 1st and this battle for 2nd. Now take a look at this race story. Usually this goes about 15 minutes. There are all these lead changes, all these cautions. Well, here's the race story today, folks. That's the Fram race story.
I tell you what,
Hello?
I'm glad up at the top of the show we were showing all the crashes, the wrecks, and all the cautions that were going to happen. But pretty evident we didn't know a darn thing about what we were talking
Those
about.
poor folks from Fram, Neil, they thought, my gosh, that's the best deal since sliced bread, because, you know, there's all those lead changes. And look what's happened here today. We've had 5 lead changes among 3 drivers and only 1 caution on the day. Now, the records out here for lead changes, 47 and 74, usually get 25 or 30. The least lead changes was 8 in 91 and also back in 1960. So a lot of things can happen on the old record book today. Here's Earnhardt looking down beneath Bobby Labonte in the Maxwell House car. Bobby's number 22, running back in 33rd position.
If you really want to emphasize lead changes, there was 1 pass on the racetrack so far. The rest of it was caution stuff. Or pitting stuff. While they were pitting.
We're getting ready to pit once again. It's all been green flag. And those pit crews, that's going to make the difference in this one. Instrumental all the way through this Mello Yello 500. The story has been told on pit road as much as on the track.
There comes Jeff Gordon down pit road just as we're talking about this. The 24 car just turned into the pits.
4th place.
The sun has popped back out. Spencer's coming in behind him also. The sun's out again. It's going to change the complexion of this race.
Spencer, 7th place on pit road. Meineke car, the DuPont car, both in. Looks like the lemming instinct. They all come in here, follow each other right onto pit road. Once the word was out that Gordon's in, now you've got the 68, Greg Sachs, pulling onto pit road.
14 car, the 1, the 44. Rick Wilson's in. You can't afford to stay out there on old tires when someone else has new ones. They're so much quicker that they'll just be picking up seconds on you all the time. And then when you come in and stop, they've made a tremendous gain on you.
Greg Sachs running in 15th position. There you see Rick Mast, the number 1. He's running in 17th, a couple of laps down. And here comes leader Irvin back on pit road for the Robert Yates team. Johnny Hayes is there in the Haviland, Texaco pit area. And let's watch this phenomenal pit crew go back to work to try to keep Ernie Irvin up front.
The 3 car just parked about 6 pits behind him. We got them both sitting on pit road.
Johnny Hayes.
I want you to look at the size of the rear tire changer, 6 foot 8 inches. These guys just do it smooth as glass. They know how important it is because they also know how good a Dale Earnhardt is. Okay, Dick.
Richard Childress says the big difference between the 3 and the 28 is that Irvin runs better on a long run. So they just put 4 tires on it, and they hope they don't get so many long runs as we've had so far this afternoon.
Dick, while you were saying that, we was watching both pit stops. It seems as though Earnhardt's guy picked him up about a second on the stop. We'll see what that does on the racetrack.
Johnny Hayes.
Mark Martin just came in. They're cleaning the window. Everything's fine. They just ran 1 extra lap, the lead a lap, to get those important points. Stop's going smoothly.
Nice shot.
See him jacking the wedge in the car.
Johnny, tell us any more about that Mark Martin team as they come back out?
Well, they've just been taking it good and smooth, taking care of their car. I think they have a real shot to win this thing. They're the kind of people who play it real smart, close to the vest. Watch them closely.
Let me tell you, one of the things as Harry Gant comes in that I like about John Hayes the most is he is the guy that was instrumental in starting an awards program for the guys on the pit road. The best jack man, the best tire man, the best carrier, those guys that no one ever talks about, and he got them money for it. He gives them a banquet once a year. He got some of the folks he's involved with, and they vote among themselves. All the crews vote, so it's a vote by your peers, and it's a heck of a program, and we kid a lot about Johnny Hayes, but seriously, when you talk about racing, nothing happens without those guys in the pits, and it was this fella Hayes that put that program together, and it probably is as meaningful as going to the Waldorf Astoria for the drivers come December in that banquet, this little banquet in Charlotte. For these guys that are on the wall, get dirty 4 days a week, work 7 days a week on these race cars, it's a very special thing.
Johnny, when they go there, what kind of, do you serve them that big meal like always?
Oh, yeah, we take real good care of them, give them pretty trophies, let them bring their wife, their mothers, and dads. It's probably one of the highest emotional events we ever do, because it's great to see some of these big old rough, tough crew guys cry, and they do actually cry when they get that award.
See, he likes to get everybody emotional. He'll either work on you or he'll work on me, but he loves to see people get emotional.
I wish I could win. I'd bring my dogs and cats and everything. He's letting everybody go.
214 laps are now complete of 334 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's still Ernie Irvan out in front. Ken Schrader is on pit road. We'll be back with more of the action of the Mello Yello 500 on TBS after this.
Welcome back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're just past halfway, and it's been an Ernie Irvan benefit show so far this afternoon. We watch Irvan as he takes the 28 car down the straightaway here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway from on high. Great to have you with us today on TBS. It's been a terrific afternoon so far for Irvan and a few other drivers. One of the drivers we've been watching has been Jeff Gordon in car number 24. Gordon picked up his first pole position of his Winston Cup career here this weekend, and he did it with a slightly different motor. Rick Hendrick, the team owner, asked that a B&R engine shop motor be put in the car for qualifying. Normally, the Hendrick team builds their own engines for the Jeff Gordon operation. Well, the B&R motor went in there. It took Gordon to the pole. They're racing, though, with a Hendrick Motorsports engine in the car today. Racing very well. Jeff posted in 4th position the last time we checked a short time ago. Also, there is concern, perhaps, in the Rusty Wallace organization. We had a call a few moments ago that Wallace might be losing something in the way of fluid on the track. We're checking that out now. We'll see if there's any problem in the Wallace automobile. But meantime, Ernie Irvan is setting sail. Dale Jarrett is on pit road. They've got the hood up. That is never a good sign on the 18 car. Got the air cleaner off of that automobile's motor, Neil Bonnet.
Yeah, it looks like they're working. Usually when that's happened, they're back there working their ignition system. The air cleaner actually covers over the distributor and everything. I don't know. It looks like they might be taking the carburetor loose on it. They've got a carburetor ignition problem. They say they are taking the carburetor loose. I saw them throwing rags in it to soak up the fuel as they take that stuff loose. So there's the new carburetor. That one coming off. Matter of fact, he's waiting on a new one. Let's go down to Johnny Hayes, see what's going on with the deal.
Well, you're exactly right, Neil. This is not your first race. It's a carburetor linkage problem. They're going to have to fix it and get it back out there.
I tell you what happens in a case like that. That linkage on the side of that carburetor, you open it up, open and close so many times, it just broke the linkage off the side of the other carburetor. Here are Rusty Wallace in 5th place. Earlier in the event, whenever Rusty was able to hold off the leader and not go a lap down, it's really worked out well for him. He's in 5th place right now. Him and Earnhardt still going at it this points battle.
223 laps are complete. We have 7 cars in the lead lap. Irvan, Earnhardt, Martin, Gordon, Rusty Wallace, Kyle Petty, and Jimmy Spencer. Those 7 cars in the lead lap, averaging 156 miles an hour, which is about 3 miles over the record. Ernie Irvan looking to win his first Mello Yello 500 if he can keep it clicking as it is right now. 1988 winner Rusty Wallace maintaining 5th.
Don't you know these guys are getting tired of looking in the mirror and seeing this black and orange thing coming after them? Lap after lap, he just keeps chewing away, putting these guys lap down. I'm telling you, they got the 28 rolling now. There's Bodine right in front of them, going around him. He just put the 8 car down. Now he's after the... Oh, man, I tell you, the lap times that he's running, the race record, 153. Average speed here, 156. I'd say they're getting it done today.
Brett Bodine in the 26. He's running in 11th. He's shown as a lap down. The 29 car getting overrun another time. That car has fallen back through the day. That's Hillenberg. Hillenberg gets a Grand National effort each year, full season. He came down here and worked in the fast track racing school at Charlotte. Repairs on Jarrett went 2 minutes and 52 seconds, so that discounts him today severely. Jarrett falling well back for that very long stop. Ernie Irvan. It's been a fantastic display by the Robert Yates team. They came out and with Irvan won their first race at Martinsville. They started at Darlington. amazing how they seem to have gelled. Sometimes the chemistry works, Neil.
Yeah, that car has always been extremely fast. Ernie fitted right into the car.
You must feel the presence of Davey Allison every moment out there, Ernie.
Well, you know, it's in our memory, and we kind of have put him as a thought that he's just our teammate. And, you know, everything we do, we always refer back to, well, when we look at the notes, it's everything Davey said during a race or during practice, and a lot of those things are giving us hints and things to what we need to do. So that's why we really consider him. He's still our teammate. He's still with us, and always will be.
'68 is on pit road. For more of the story on Greg Sachs, let's go down and see what's happening there.
And he's got an ignition problem. They've been working on this car behind pit road. Here is the real problem. This is the rotor. This thing is supposed to be attached here. It's not. They're going to move it behind the wall and try to get that distributor squared away.
Boy, you talk about a shame. That thing with Greg Sachs, the '68 car, ran the best run they've had. I don't know when. Really running up front, doing a good job. And that piece right there cost about $1.95. Knocked him out of this race. It's going to take a while to change that.
It's the $1.95 piece that usually gets you, right?
Yeah, you know, sometimes you just don't mind when it blows up and slings the rod and the crankshafts on the ground. When something like that breaks, it's almost enough to say the wrong thing.
Interval between first and second now stands at 7.7 as Ernie Irvan continues to steamroll the competition in Winston Cup racing. It's been the most dominating performance of any driver in 19... Oh, he bobbles a little down there and gathers it back up. For just a moment, the Haviland Texaco car got really loose. And Ernie Irvan picks it up, keeps on steaming. Irvan first, Dale Earnhardt in second, Mark Martin is third, Jeff Gordon is fourth, Rusty Wallace fifth, Kyle Petty in sixth, Jimmy Spencer is seventh. A lap back, Rudd is 8th, Schrader 9th, and Bill Elliott is 10th. Stay with us. Action more to come from Charlotte. How about this for second place? 235 laps complete. Earnhardt again being pressured by Martin. The number 6 of Martin comes to the inside as they go down to turn 1.
You see Martin down on the inside, Earnhardt outside. Mark's got that preferred line through there. It's a good run up off the corner right here. He's cleared him this time.
Mark Martin makes it Ford, first and second. Chevy, third and fourth. Pontiac in fifth with Rusty Wallace. Second spot is 9 seconds back. Ernie Irvan continuing to dominate.
I would say they got the coil fixed earlier.
So there's Martin leading Earnhardt. They had a real war going early in the season. Mark Martin took a lot of exception to Earnhardt. He was in the press. They beat on each other a little. It's like the old days between Allison and Petty. Once in a while, that sort of helps things along. They get out there, and it looks like they really mean it. Folks begin to think they're all too comfy and cozy and friendly. Not very friendly out there, that 63.
I want to tell you what, you know, this sport grew out of those dirt tracks and those short tracks, racing, a little feuding here, a little fighting there. And I'm telling you, I've heard people say, boy, we need to clean the sport up. Hey, let's don't get it so clean that there's not rivalry out there, that there's not animosity, there's not a guy who wants to beat another guy because he beat me last week. I'm telling you, the sport doesn't need to get so clean that we come out here and they review it like a horse race and say, that guy bumped me, he's disqualified. We don't ever get to that.
Yeah. I mean, in the old days, you really, Curtis Turner, Joe Weatherly, those guys, they bounced and pushed and moved each other around.
If I was on a horse, I'd want them to disqualify me if they ran into me. One of these things, all you do is hear a little tin rattle when they hit you.
Yeah, sure.
We talked a moment ago about perhaps a problem with a fluid leak on the 2 car. Rusty Wallace is steaming along at 5th spot. We've checked it out. There is no problem. Apparently another car was dropping oil. Rusty got some droplets of oil on his windshield, called the crew. Now they've discovered it's not their car, so they're not worried. They're in good shape for the rest of the race.
If that's the case, what did he say he was steaming along? They had me nervous for a minute.
240 laps complete this time by. 360 of the 500 miles will have been run as they come back to the stripe with Ernie Irvan in command. 7 cars in that lead lap. Martin takes back over. He's a few seconds down to the leader, Ernie Irvin. Earnhardt stays third. Gordon stays fourth. Wallace fifth. Kyle Petty sixth. Those Pontiacs back in 56. What an accounting by Rusty Wallace, who started 21st, and by Kyle Petty, who started 31st on the day and brought himself right up into the thick of the hunt.
Yeah, we thought Kyle was having trouble earlier, but he's coming back. His car's getting better again. Look what, the sun's out. When it got cloudy, he might have got too tight. The sun's out. Kyle's working his way back to the front again.
Here's Johnny Hayes.
Yes, I'm down in Mark Martin's pit. Steve, Bill, sun came back out. It's cloudy. It's affecting the car.
Well, to begin with, it was sunny, and we tightened them up for it. And then when the sun went away, it got too tight. So we've been working it back and back out and loosening them back up. And I was some concern when I saw this blue sky coming that hurt us. And I just asked Mark. He said the car's just fine. We're finally maintaining a decent split off Ernie. Ernie's been driving out a couple tenths a lap all day. Right now, we're even with him, so we're in pretty good shape. I don't think the sun's hurt us a bit.
What about the chance of a gas mileage race? I noticed they're trying to carry it further and further. Could this thing come down to gas mileage?
Well, we always pull more gear than everybody else, so we probably aren't going to get great gas mileage, but we've been noticing we've been pitting with Ernie and the 3-car about the same. So we'll run about another 65 laps, get some fuel, and I think they will too. I don't think it's going to come to gas mileage.
242 complete. From third spot, number 3, Earnhardt, back to number 24, Jeff Gordon. It's a difference of 3 and 6/10 seconds. Let's get more on the story on car 24.
Well, Ken, they've got Jeff Gordon's radio fixed now from earlier today, and he has been giving them an absolute earful about the car. He says it's loose, loose, loose. A few laps ago, he radioed to the crew and said, I just about lost it in turn 3 and 4. Rick Hendrick, they've been adjusting this car all day. Can they tighten it up enough so you can eat up Ernie Irvin?
That's a pretty tall order to eat up Ernie Irvin today, but, you know, when the sun was in, we were pretty close. Now, sun back out, we need to tighten him up. I think we can hold our own with anybody but the 28. The 28 seems to be kind of in a class by himself.
Race is on. Earnhardt inside, Martin outside. Back to Earnhardt. Earnhardt's done it again. Finds himself a second place. Closes right up behind Sterling Marlin in car number 8. He's running 13th as they wheel into the first turn of the 24-degree banking of the famed Charlotte Motor Speedway. If you're just joining us, it's Ernie Irvin Day in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's led everything here this afternoon. Can he stay there to win it? That's what we'll stay around and find out about. There he is. 8-second advantage over Earnhardt in second. Martin in third. Mello Yello 500. Coming up on 250 laps, 375 miles with Ernie Irvin in front. Dale Earnhardt second, the Mello Yello 500. Mark Martin sustaining third. Jeff Gordon is fourth. And rounding out the top 5 is Rusty Wallace. You're riding with Darrell Waltrip in the Western Auto car number 17. He's running in 20th position today and taking a very high line at this time. I thought he was a prospect to really have a good day in these conditions, but something's amiss. He keeps using that old Harry Gant line way up on the outside.
Yeah, he can't get the car to stick like he wants to. Let's watch him go down in turn 3 here. You'll see him going. You've been seeing some of the lead cars able to turn right off in the bottom here. But watch where Darrell goes. Right up top. That's that old groove right around the top of the racetrack. Real close to turn 4 coming off right up by the wall.
What do you get up to?
When you get up there, you get scared. You get that close to the wall to get your attention. But I'm just telling you what happens when you got a loose car. You have to run the car higher. You pinch it down, it even gets looser. So Darrell's running a high line because his car's a little bit loose. Yeah, so he doesn't have a whole lot of real estate left out there when he comes off that corner. And this corner right here, still running about 185 miles an hour. Roll out the throttle, right up here. So I might hit this thing, let's turn, crank her back left, and then watch how this wall juts out right here. Comes off that corner, you feel like you're going to run straight into it. Matter of fact, I have. So let's don't look at the windshield anymore.
You look at anything else with it? I mean, check out anything?
Section 3, having some interesting sights before C section up there in the top.
Here's Dick Berggren.
I'm with Buddy Parrott on top of his pit box. Now, for a car that wasn't supposed to run today, you guys are looking pretty good. Can you adjust this thing to pick up some more spots still?
Well, I really don't know, Dick. You know, the thing is, you know, we came over here qualified about 3 or 4 or 5 tenths off the pole.
and we've got this thing down to about 2.5, 3 tenths. And we're going to make some adjustments on the last pit stop. We're real fortunate on that one caution to stay in the lead lap, and we'd like to get one of those 5-point bonus deals, but you know, I don't know. It's just we're going to work hard at it. The guys having excellent pit stops. Rusty's driving a smart race. He knows right now if we come out of here with a top 5 finish, we're going to be real happy.
Did you hear that? Every single element of a team was mentioned in that little soundbite.
Yes, indeed. You can't overlook that crew chief. I really like Buddy Parrott. I think he is a good guy. He gets down to basics. There's nothing too fancy about that stuff. And sometimes, remember when Roger Penske brought those cars down years ago, and he tried so hard, and he just didn't have any success. And they were sort of that leading edge technology. You get Buddy Parrott, and you get 3 squares a day, you get a pretty solid race car, and it pays off, as it has for Wallace. You know, Wallace would be in it. He hasn't had as many DNFs as Earnhardt. But when he had some DNFs, they've been big time. I mean, that awful crash that he had at Talladega, the troubles that they took, all those kind of things have been really difficult because they left him way back in the numbers where you couldn't get the car back out and run for position.
Welcome back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Less than 80 laps to go. We're on lap 258 this afternoon for the Mello Yello 500. Really excited about our schedule here on TBS for the 1994 Winston Cup season. We'll be back at Charlotte for 2 dates, at Richmond for 2 dates, and back to Pocono next July. Hope you'll join us for the action. One of the cars that's had some mechanical problems, there haven't been many this afternoon, the number 20 Dick Moroso car being driven today by Bobby Hamilton, the FINA automobile. They've had plug wire problems. Let me show you this. This is one of the plug wires on the number 20 car. We just took this distributor cap and wire harness off the car. It was burned off. They've replaced it. Bobby Hamilton now back in the hunt.
I tell you, that's easy to do on these cars because that particular part of the plug wire lays right against the stainless steel headers and it cooks them.
Looking at Derek Cope as his car is being pushed in. Cale Yarborough, Bojangles' car being rolled back into the garage area. He'd had a good run, but it's not going to stay up, running in 25th when it ended. And take a look at this. Here's Martin and Earnhardt squaring off again. Earnhardt on the outside, Martin dipping down on the inside and taking second place.
You realize if Ernie Irvan wasn't in a race of his own, we got a heck of a race going right here. These two guys have been going back and forth and back and forth. The only problem, we got the 28 car. Oh, we got one car right up against the wall off turn 2. I can't tell exactly who it is. But these two right here we're watching here have really...
Bickle.
Here comes Earnhardt again, right back on the inside.
Rich Bickle scraped the wall going down the back straightaway, but there's no caution coming out, and Earnhardt is back up there in the second spot. Thank you very much. 260 laps complete, get us to 390. We've completed 261, so that gets us to 391.5 miles down. Let me straighten out one thing. I said it backwards, didn't mean to. But Earnhardt has had only 2 DNFs. Wallace has had 5. The interesting thing is that in the top 5, you get down to how many top 5 finishes each has had. Well, then you have Wallace having 14 top 5 finishes, and Earnhardt getting Wallace having 16 top 5 finishes, and Earnhardt having only 14. So there's more being credited to Rusty Wallace in those top 5 finishes, but his losses have been the severe part, those awful crashes that he had.
Yeah, let me tell you, just like right here, if you fall out of this race with a big 40-car field, you're in trouble. You go to a short track where they start 31 or 32 cars, and you fall out first, you still got a cushion or 2 in the 12 cars. If you fall out on one of these big tracks, boy, let me tell you, the 44 just squared it up. He bounced it off the wall. Here's the 42 going under Rusty Wallace.
That's for 5th spot.
Comes Rusty right back. While that was happening, I just looked off turn 4. I saw Rick Wilson really nail the wall.
And that's the second car that's gotten right out there and flattened out the right side. Rich Bickle did it a moment ago in the 45, and now the 44 of Rick Wilson does the same in 4. One incident in turn 2, but neither has brought out a caution. Pretty solid hit.
Yeah, I saw the concrete fly off turn 4 a while ago. Rick Wilson is there. He's coasting down the back straightaway in the middle of turn 3. I didn't think he could make it very far, because, I mean, when I saw him, he was bouncing off of that wall.
Well, we've got a battle between Pontiacs back here in 5th spot. Rusty Wallace and Kyle Petty as another Pontiac. Looks like it's going to call it a day. Coming in very slowly, Rick Wilson.
We'll get a shot of this right side.
A little earlier in this car.
Boy, you'll see some damage to that thing. See, it squared the door up. That's concrete inside those rims, and that A-frame is knocked over on the right front, so he's going to have some work ahead of him.
A badly scuffed number 44 at lap 266 pulls on pit road. Now we're expecting what? Lap 275 to 280. When do you think you're going to see 28 in here?
Well, let me tell you what. They told us a while ago that the 28 car was going to pit on lap 272 between there and 275. And I really just can't bring myself around to believe that, because every time we've got one of these things so far, they pitted before or after. We'll just have to see when he comes in. But they're talking 272 to 275.
Kyle Petty in 5th, Rusty Wallace in 6th. Question as to when they will pit will be resolved when we return. At lap 270, 405 miles completed. In the Mello Yello 500, 34th annual at Charlotte, North Carolina, it has been all Ernie Irvan in this Haviland Texaco car, about to put a lap on Ted Musgrave in the U.S. Air Machine as he comes down the main straightaway. The 28 leads by 12 seconds over second place. Dale Earnhardt with Mark Martin right behind him in 3rd spot. We'll show you that interval between your leader, the 28, and the battle that continues, and it's a dandy between cars 6 and 3. There they are, back together another time in turn 1, up on the 24-degree banking. Martin takes the position back. They've swapped this thing 8 times in the last 20 laps.
Here comes the 28 car. While we're doing this, the 28 car, he told us lap 272. It's lap 271, so they're right on schedule.
Dick Berggren waiting for car 28. He comes down pit road. Here's the crucial stop.
What they were trying to do here was to stretch it as far as they could go. We're just outside, well, maybe we're inside the window now of how far this car can go on one more tank of fuel. They can run between 60 and 65 laps. A good stop so far. They are not going to change anything on this car. No changes in air pressure other than to put 2 cans of fuel in, 4 tires, 18.5. Terrific stop. Didn't change a thing. They like the car the way it is.
Bodine is on pit road, as is Wallace.
Looks like they loosened him up a little bit.
Coming down pit road, Martin and Earnhardt.
24, Jeff Gordon right behind him. Kyle Petty coming in, the 5, Ricky Rudd. Once one guy comes in, he opens the floodgates.
Back to the pit.
Yes, Earnhardt just hit pit road. You can see how fast these guys are. Will in on the right rear. Down to you, Dick.
Mark Martin is also sitting at the same time. They're not happy with their car. They've got too much fight. They've taken a little bit of it out, and Mark Martin has made a good pit stop and is gone.
Excellent pit stop on Roush. Earnhardt's away. Morgan Shepherd coming in the 21 car. We haven't given him much of a call today. Morgan is running in 15th position. He's being shown as 3 laps down in the Wood Brothers number 21, the Sitco car. Picking up after that pit stop. There's Harry Gant that gave it such a great run in the early going, but the 33 is backed up. He's in 13th position, 2 laps back. Gant in the green and white colors. 82 was when it all began for him right here, driving the Hal Needham Burt Reynolds car that year, set on the pole and won the race. Last man to do so. He's 7 on the pole to win here in this 500.
Speaking of Hal Needham, I saw him before the race. He's down there filming another Bandit movie. He's down there working before the race started.
Take a look at 2 and 24 getting together out here. That's back in 5th spot. It's Wallace for the moment in front of Jeff Gordon as they struggle for 5th position.
Well, these points are so critical. Wallace is wanting to get around every car he can. Instead, run up 24, he's a lot better off.
Saw them put a lap on Jeremy Mayfield, who was driving his very first Winston Cup race here today in that number 95, the white car just behind him. Jeremy doing a good job staying out of the way. 275 laps are complete. 334 are the distance. If you're just joining us, it's been all Ernie Irvan. There have been 9 lead changes among 4 drivers, and those lead changes, for the most part, are taking place under caution, or rather under pit road conditions. There's only been 1 caution on the entire day. High above Charlotte, our aerials are being provided by Ray Bestis. the best in brakes for one of the best racetracks in the world.
Promotional fees and consideration have been paid by Ray Festus, the best in brakes. And by Western Auto, the official auto parts and service store of NASCAR.
280 on the board, 334 the distance. So we're closing in on the finish, and it's been Ernie Irvan all day. This was supposed to be the showdown at Charlotte. It has been the show up for Irvan like he hasn't shown up in some time. He has absolutely decimated a field of 42 starters. He has made everybody else battle for second place in a class of his own as he laps Sterling Marlin another time. His lead stays at 7 to 12 seconds, and you feel that he's just riding it here, not wanting to overwork that car, giving it its head, letting it run as easily where it feels comfortable, and dominating. And as Neil Bonnet pointed out a little earlier, this business that NASCAR came in here and did not use a restrictor plate, but came in here instead and changed the aerodynamics on the car, raised the car higher, raised the air dam up, put it back in the driver's hands, and one of the outstanding results has been the lack of engine failure. Here we are in the final moments of the race, and we have, what, 2 official retirees this time? The 75 crash, that was the only incident when young Todd Bodine smacked the wall out of turn number 4. And then the 98 went away with an engine failure. The 29 is also parked. That could be the third, but that means 39 cars are still running. And to Neil Bonnet, the question is, hey, isn't this what it's all about, to make these cars run, to have a lot of cars racing? This seems like a pretty good idea they came up with.
Well, it seems like a pretty good idea, but I'm wondering what Humpy Wheeler said. It'd either be a wreck fest or a runaway.
It's a runaway.
It's a runaway. Is this a situation where somebody hits on it and they drive away? And that's not been the case of Winston Cup racing. It's been mix it up and go at them. I don't know what we're going to do right here. They just have to weigh it out after the race.
But the restrictor plate, so many people didn't like that idea of putting that big bridle on.
Let's take a look. They want to look at the interval right here between the 6 car. You know, the 6 and Earnhardt were directly together, hooked up before they went in for the pits. And now the 6 is right here. Let's look back and see where Earnhardt's at. How critical it is getting in and out of pit road. You see the 6, and there's Earnhardt coming off the second turn down the back straightaway. So big gap after that pit stop.
And you saw Bill Elliott, the 11 car. He's in 10th spot, a lap down.
Here's something I always question, Ken. We were wondering about that window. We heard Dick Berggren saying, can they go the rest way? We were wondering how far they went. Well, Ernie Irvan earlier today, he went 62 laps, and you think they don't time it close? From that last stop, he's got 62 laps to go.
So they can go home.
Well, they've done it all day long, so they feel comfortable with it, I'm sure.
Give me an answer here. Would you rather see them use restrictor plates or do what they're doing here, Neil? I know what you're saying about making the races close, but this is really a driver's race out here today, and Ernie Irvan has definitely hit on the setup. He's hit on the combination. A lot of guys are going to look at that one real solid.
Ken, if I could answer that with a proper answer, I'd be 2 booths over to the NASCAR side if they'd hire me tomorrow. The key is, how do you slow them down, how do you stabilize them, and how do you keep the competition real close? Every time you make a change, it takes a while for everybody to get on top of it. If everybody had that answer, boy, they could be a hero every week. It's just hard to do.
But don't you think they could come up with it? Yes, Robert Yates says it, and he's a brilliant guy. He's built great engines over the years, and he and Larry McReynolds certainly have a chemistry with this to work that suspension and get it right. But don't you feel that maybe, and I don't mean to be leading the question here, but to a degree I am, this seems to me to be a better way than those restrictor plates where you haven't got any power. When you need it, you got to wait and wrap up the rubber band to make the thing go a little faster.
Yeah, nobody likes it. Honestly, nobody likes the plates. They're necessary, but I don't think that's the way to come to this side of the racetrack and put them. Let me tell you what, you think the answers are there. When we came to the garage the other day, they walked in with 3 boxes full of restrictor plates. In case this didn't work in practice, a lot of cars would have wrecked and several things happened. They would have put the plates, possibly put the plates on.
And that would have blown some over.
Yeah, it's questionable what will happen. They're still weighing it up. Now see what to do next.
A lap away from 290 and 435 miles in the book. Ernie Irvan trying to write some history at Charlotte, North Carolina. Averaging 157 miles an hour. The old record 153.5 set by Mark Martin when he won this race a year ago. Ernie Irvan continues to lead with 292 of 334 laps in the book. We have 7 cars in the lead lap. Irvin, Mark Martin, Earnhardt, Kyle Petty 4th, Rusty Wallace 5th, Jeff Gordon 6th, and Jimmy Spencer in 7th position. Let's get an update on some of the other action here at Charlotte on this great racing weekend from the STP Pit Center. Here's a racing update.
Well, thank you, Ken. Yesterday we were here for the 300-mile Busch Grand National at the All-Pro Auto Parts 300. As dominant as Ernie Irvin has been here today, that's how dominant Mark Martin was in yesterday's action. Here's how the field took the green flag. Ward Burton taking the early lead off the green from Bobby Donner, who was the pole sitter yesterday. And the field down the main straightaway, down the backstretch for the first lap. It didn't take Mark Martin very long to claim the lead in yesterday's event. He started third, grabbed the lead. First big incident, Ward Burton and Randy LaJoie get together early in the going. Burton hits LaJoie. LaJoie spins. A little later on, this is Johnny Benson Jr. down into the water barrier at the head of the pit road. During that caution, NASCAR told Mark Martin he had to hold up. They gave him a stop-and-go penalty because he had made a pit stop while pit road was closed. That didn't dissuade Martin a bit. He raced back to the lead, going by Todd Bodine. In the latter portion of the race, Dale Earnhardt in the 3 car and Bodine in the 34 get together. They put on quite a show. Bodine got by Earnhardt, but Earnhardt was able to come back at Bodine and reclaim second spot late in the going. Mark Martin, though, all the way for the victory and a great triumph over mechanical problems. Had to go to the back and come to the front once yesterday afternoon. Mark Martin winning his 6th Busch Grand National event of the season. Guess where a lot of us thought Martin might double, as he has done several times this year, winning a Busch race Saturday, Winston Cup show Sunday. Today, it doesn't seem to be working out that way for him.
Not quite, Rick Benjamin. He's giving it his all. He's in second place, but it's second by 12 seconds to this man, and he's drawing away once again Ernie Irvin.
Well, it's a long way from the end. We'll just have to see what happens.
Well, all the crews down here have been watching this great big diamond vision screen behind us. And as they were watching the replay of yesterday's action Rich Benjamin was just talking about, and they saw the car spinning around, everybody went nuts on pit road. They thought they were going to have a caution flag.
You think they might possibly hope for one?
I bet they would.
This thing up?
I understand you're predicting lap 312 for a caution, Bonner.
Maybe debris, about 312.
Here, debris is going to be out here. No. We're at lap 296 right now, folks. Zeroing in on 300 laps, and we'll be back shortly with the Mello Yello 500 on TBS. Ernie Irvin's race to win. Mark Martin trying to take it away. Coming around to complete right now, 300 laps, 450 miles, the final 50 underway. And there you see the old record being shattered. It was established just a year ago by Mark Martin. And now, Ernie Irvin looks like he's going to break it wide open with the fastest Mello Yello 500 run in the course of the 34 years we've had this event in October. Dale Jarrett goes another lap down in car number 18, Joe Gibbs' car. I wish he'd be back with the Redskins today. They're back in 26th position. Not having much fun out there. Made a good run early, pulled up, and then it's gone the other way for Dale Jarrett and company.
Yeah, when they had that carburetor problem, it really put them behind.
Almost 14 seconds now between first and second. And Humpy Wheeler called it right. It was either going to be Rex Stroon or somebody was going to do a walkover here. And that's what's happening with Ernie Irvin right now as he seeks his 9th career win and his 3rd in 1993.
You know, a lot of times the leader has to really work traffic. You see him coming up with this traffic, but he's running so fast and his car is doing so good. Traffic doesn't even seem to be a nuisance. When it comes to him, he gets around him so quick that's not even a problem for him. And I'm talking about some good race cars he's dealing with.
This is his 5th start for Ernie Irvin in this race. And prior to his best performance was a year ago when he came home in 6th. That was when Mark Martin won it.
Let's go down to the 28 pits with Robert Yates. Dick Berggren's down there.
Well, Robert, new rules, a new deal. How did you pull the right strings to make this thing run so well?
I tell you, I don't really know. Larry and Ernie and all the guys worked on the car and engines. They just busted their butt to make it come out here and beat them. So, evidently, I'm sure these other guys did too, but we must have just had it all fall in the right place. But we still got 30-something laps to go.
Ain't over till she's over.
Well, I don't know what it's going to take to call it over, but the checkered flag is going to be the thing, I'm sure. If that thing keeps running, they're going to do something spectacular to run him down.
Let's check the cars out of the race. we're showing 4. We talked about the Bodine car. That was Todd Bodine. That was the only car that has crashed. The 98 car, that's gone away. Derek Cope, the 29 car, which is Hillenberg, that too has gone away. We're now getting a report on a couple of others. The 85 has called it a day. Remember, Jim Sauter had trouble early, went down about 30 laps. They've gone back behind the wall and hung it up for the afternoon, put the helmet away. And also, we see that Rich Bickle of Edgerton, Wisconsin, in the bullseye Ford, they've also hung up the goggles. So, it stays Irvin first, Martin second, Earnhardt third, and Ernie Irvin plays this like a flycaster. He just drops that 28 out a little and reels it back to do pretty much what he wants most of the distance here. And then once again, do you believe that fish story Robert Yates was telling you about? Gosh, they have no idea what made this thing run like this today.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can hit and miss on these deals. When you make major changes, I mean, a team like Robert Yates with Larry McReynolds doing the chassis work, you got a lot going in your direction. Start with caution down.
Caution coming out. Yellow is on the track. Caution is out at lap 306. You missed by 6 laps, Bonnet. That'll cost you a quarter. Lap 306, Yellow coming down. Now, I can't see for why.
I'm telling you.
You were right. It might have been Pierre Debris. Car number 20 eases onto pit road. Second caution of the day. They've been averaging 157.6 on Ernie Irvin. This is going to square him up for a run for the finish.
It's Pierre's brother. It's oil on the backstretch.
Ah.
They said there's oil on the backstretch.
Oil allay.
Yeah, so they're going to see if they can get them slowed down here and put the oil dry out.
That'll put 7 cars back together. They've done this one other time, and Ernie Irvin just said, see you later. Here's Darrell Waltrip in the Western Auto car. Been much fun for Darrell. He finds himself up in the top 20 now. He's broken into 19th place.
You know, Darrell, a few weeks back, really got his car going. They're just a little off today. Let's go down to Johnny Hayes.
Great story, Neil. As I was interviewing Ernie Irvin before the race, I said, listen, I'm going to pick you to win the race just like I did Rusty Wallace. You're going to make me hero. And he said, man, don't pick me. Don't jinx us. And everybody on the crew said, hey, don't pick us. As soon as they said that, I knew they had something for everybody. What they're doing now is just listening, hoping this thing will hold together. Because if it'll hold together, they've won this thing.
Oh, the power of Hayes. He's going to be unbearable. First he picked Wallace at Richmond. Now he says, after the fact, pretty well along, stay tuned, folks. Pit road is where the action has been. We're seeing the cars a lap down now on pit road. All 7 of the leaders you're watching live as those cars down a lap all come in. Moments ago, the front 7 came, and that's where the real story is. Let's take a look and replay, Neil Bonnet, as to what went on up there. Get a shot.
We saw Mark Martin. We saw the 28 car. Watch on the right rear. See the man on the 28 car. He put a half a round of wedge. He loosened the car up. It looked like he turned it down, which loosened that car up. Already needed a hammer. Look at Mark Martin. Looked like about 2 rounds on the right rear. Good indication of 28. Real close. Mark Martin put about 2 rounds in his. Quick stops by both teams.
About 18 seconds. Rusty Wallace came out. So they're all back there again with 7 cars. They're showing 8 in the lead lap now that Rudd has picked up with this pit stop and has gone back into that lead lap. We'll see about that in a moment. For sure, there's still 7. We'll count them down for you in a moment as they come around to complete lap 310. That'll be 465 miles. They'll have another lap before they turn them loose. The Charlotte promoter is a man who likes to take as few chances as possible. He likes to hedge his bets, H.A. Wheeler. In his unending quest to thrill the fans, he ensures against a dull day in many ways, not the least of which the famous Humpy World pre-race program. Now here's the cultural climax of this year's edition. The vehicle you are going to be watching here is what else?
A garbage
truck.
A garbage truck, of all things. And I guess that set a record for garbage trucks.
Yeah. Largest garbage truck jump in history right there, folks. We didn't want you to go home without seeing it. Look again at this magnificent moment. So, for you garbage truck fans, something for you today.
Yes, you fans at home, do not attempt to do this stunt with your garbage truck in Hueytown or anywhere. Only under controlled conditions like this.
Sure have a good time at Charlotte. Ready to go racing again, 310. That is part of Humpy World. Taking a look at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, where Ernie Irvin bunched up with Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, Kyle Petty, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Spencer, and they're showing Rudd now one lap down. They had him up there for a moment, getting settled to go. Down they come.
Ken, I've got to defend that garbage jump. It just meant more live. I don't know. Something about the replay just didn't bring the moment out. I'm not sure what it was.
You know, of all the honors, Neil, that Dale Earnhardt has received, one of his finest tributes was handed out this week right down the street from the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
It was a big-time celebration for a small-town hero. This past Tuesday was Dale Earnhardt Day in Kannapolis, North Carolina. Thousands of Dale Earnhardt fans paid tribute to their hero, as did country music stars Brooks and Dunn. But of course, the loudest cheering was reserved for Dale. The man who is known as the Intimidator admitted to having butterflies in front of his home folks as he was presented the key to the city. Later that evening, a celebrity dinner was held as war stories were traded and accolades handed out.
Neil, Dale Earnhardt pitted. He didn't change anything. They just changed tires. He looked very relaxed. Crew looked relaxed. All they did is change tire stacker. Said the car was pushing a little bit tight. He might have something for him.
I'll tell you what, he's got something for him. He better show it, because that 28's up front, and he'll be gone if they're not careful.
Earnhardt in third, Martin in second, Irvin leading, Rusty Wallace back and forth, Kyle Petty fifth, Gordon sixth, Spencer seventh on the break. They go back under green at lap 312, 334. The ultimate range here today. Back straightaway, Martin closing in. A couple of Fords up in front. Earnhardt Chevy trying to stick with him. Rudd's lap car just in front of Earnhardt. Earnhardt scoops him up coming out of fourth. Here comes Wallace and the Pontiac right back into it. Down the inside on Rudd.
Looks like Rusty's going to make that pass on Rudd also. He needs to stay right there with Earnhardt. They're going to battle this thing down the wire with the points.
30 laps to go this time by. Back straightaway. Martin trying to close. Irvin trying to draw away. Gets him by about 2.5 car lengths. Then Martin coming into the corner, closes down again, and Earnhardt pulls up.
You know, it seems like we're able to stay with that 28 car. That brings a 6 car. Mark Martin's able to stay right there until they make long runs, and that's when the 28 really comes alive.
In the Mark Martin pits is Dick Berggren.
Steve, have you got anything for that 28 Ernie Irvin?
I don't know. He's been awful good all day. We're worried about the 3 getting by us. He can run better on short spurts than we can. We aired the tires up a little bit and got 20 to go, and Mark can usually do a good job at that. Now we're trying for the 28, but based on what we've seen all day, he's going to be awful tough.
Well, tell him to step up on the wall and take a pretty good look, because the 6 is coming after him. A lot better than we thought he did. He's able to reel him back in.
Got some help from Earnhardt. Earnhardt tucks right in behind the 6, and the 2 of them trying to draw down on 28. Defending Mello Yello 500 champion, who beat Kowicki and Kyle Petty last fall. Mark Martin closing in on Ernie Irvin.
I tell you what, Ken, we've been going away all day long. We finally got a race going right here. We're going to stay green till this thing's over, or I'm going to the truck and get a hold of them down there.
316 laps complete this time. You saw Ernie Irvin trying to draw away, and the 3 working in tandem with the 6, closing that distance right up again.
It's going to take 2 of them to pass him, my boy. They need to hook both of those engines together and see if they can run that 28 down.
Mark Martin 4th and Winston Cup points. Point story is not a big thing with Ernie Irvin right now. And look at this 24, just shoot down the inside. That's Jeff Gordon for 5th. Kyle Petty falls to 6th. Kyle coming right back, and here comes Jimmy Spencer. Spencer rolling out in the black and yellow car. If you just joined us, that's Spencer in number 12. He stayed in the lead lap all day for Bobby Allison. And Jimmy Spencer rim riding from 7th spot, going back for 6th on the outside of Kyle Petty. Kyle says, thank you, I think I'll see.
Spencer fought hard to keep that lap back, get it back earlier in the day. Paying off for him right now.
This was the race where we first saw Jimmy Spencer drive for Bobby Allison a year ago, and he had a great finish in this event. Seems like his fourth or fifth. Just a terrific run. And here he is right back in it again.
Put Schrader around the outside of Gant. Spencer worked that high line. A bit higher on the track. Now he's back down the inside.
Look at Harry Gant back there in 12th in that number 33. Himself a lap down, but he's still giving a good accounting out there.
Yes, I was talking with Will Lynn, Dale Earnhardt's tire changer, and I said, do you have anything for him at all? He said, man, I don't know. I didn't think we had a chance at the Winston. Earnhardt won it. He gets up in a spot like that, he smells the blood. He's liable to do anything. Don't count him out.
This last couple of laps, so we're seeing a little separation from first, second to third. Mark's able to pull. We see the 6 car. Mark Martin pull up off of that corner. We heard Steve Miller say earlier today, we pull a lower gear than most people. We're not going to get good mileage. Well, the heck with the mileage. That 6 car is jumping off of that corner.
Cool, consistent performance by Ernie Irvan, but Mark Martin is just driving the wheels off that number 6.
That's when that gear comes in handy. Pulling those low gear ratios really jumps you off the corner. Now watch right here. Mark Martin, see that little bit of gap where he's been able to close it is when he gets in the throttle up off of this corner. Look at the 28. Hey, that thing don't need the low gear a lot of times. He's got brute horsepower in that car.
Mark Martin. First 4 times this year, trying to make it 5. Successful at Darlington back in September. At Watkins Glen on the road course. August at Michigan. August in Bristol. Mark Martin, those 4 in a row, and then Rusty Wallace stopped him cold. Great shots from that Vedestis aerial platform.
We saw him take 2 rounds of bite out of the 6 car, take a half a round out of that 28. When they do that, they're saying, driver, hey, you're going to have this thing a little loose, but it's going to go fast. It's up to you. Now they're having to drive. Both of these guys are getting away from Earnhardt. Looks like it's going to be down between the 28 and the 6 unless something changes.
483 miles are now complete. Into the final moments. 322 laps are up on the board in the infield. 334 will call it a day. Ernie Irvan trying to win his first Mello Yello 500. The man who won it last year. Arkansas's pride. Mark Martin stays right there in the Batesville campaigner. Comes back another time off turn 4. Still 2.5 car lengths.
That's where he's making his move now. He picks it up off the turn 4, and he's beginning to lose a little bit in 1 and 2. He lost a little bit in 1 and 2 before, but he was able to get it all back up here in 3 and 4. So it seems like each one of them got a little bit better part of the track. Right here, the 28 runs away a little bit. The other end, the 6 comes back.
Here comes Martin another time. Mark Martin, one of those 2 guys this year for which they coined the phrase in '93, when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not.
We went a long time without winning, with a car good enough to win. Just about drove us crazy. And we went a long time without losing. And it looked like we'd never lose another race. It's just one of those things. This business is competitive and it's really hard. And you know, sometimes you run good enough to win and you don't, and sometimes you just don't run good enough, you know, so it's a tough business.
About to get tougher. 324 complete, 10 laps to go.
Yeah, and look right here, the 6 car is staying right with the 28.
There's a black car just in front of those leaders. Jerry O'Neill out of Auburn, New York, about to be overrun by these guys as they come down to the corner. Irvan plays it very nicely. Don't want to miss there.
Ken, another thing to look at, if it should finish just the way they are right now, it ties the manufacturer's points championship, and that's big in this sport. The championship for the manufacturers means a lot.
Rusty Wallace, the first Pontiac, back there in 4th place. Maintaining 5th is Gordon. We need to stay with this lead as we get down through the final moments. 325 now in the books. Irvan Spain up on top.
Look, Ken, you know what's crazy? Just the last lap, this thing got overcast. It went from sunshine to overcast here in just the last lap or 2. Let's see what happens here. Excuse me, Ken, I'm telling you, that's critical on this track, that sun out.
Seems to help Irvan. got himself about 4 or 5 car lengths. Earnhardt pulls right up behind Mark Martin, give him a little bit of an assist. He'd like to get up there and see if he can get in the shuffle to decide this race.
Maybe Mark made as hard a run as he could at that 28. Really abused his car, tried to catch it, and he might be going away a little bit.
Great battle a little further back. Here's Kyle Petty getting around Jimmy Spencer, and Spencer driving his heart out. Back on the inside. Spencer and Kyle Petty in it strong. 6th spot. Schrader right there. Schrader's running in 9th, couple laps down.
Mark Martin sideways up in 3 and 4. Earnhardt got under, sideways again.
Picks it back up. Back to the stripe. Mark Martin literally driving the wheels off that car.
As they went down in turn 3, Earnhardt pulled right up behind him. It looked like it took the air off the back of the 6. He got completely sideways up in the middle of the corner, and then he lost it again coming off.
And the 4 cars getting back into it. Wallace closing up in 4th position. Take a look again, just on the last lap.
Ken, go down the corner. See, there's 3 foot of distance in between them, but the 3 car took the air off the spoiler of the 6. Mark did a good job. Watch here, sideways. He straightens it out again. That's what the short spoilers will do. You don't have to touch him. You just get close.
We're back with you live. That was at 175 miles an hour. Martin making that incredible correction. You saw it in slow motion. Imagine what it was like for him. Here they come, battling for second. Martin on the inside, Earnhardt on the outside. And moving up, here comes Rusty Wallace in the Pontiac.
Going at it again. Rusty Wallace is critical on these points. Thanks Earnhardt and Wallace. Look here, look how loose Mark is. His car is really loose. He's so loose aerodynamically that he can't hold it. Then he stopped. Earnhardt got him in the rear right there.
And Earnhardt realizes that Wallace is there. He's trying to work Martin over and keep in front of Rusty Wallace. And Wallace is giving it everything he's got. Meanwhile, Ernie Irvan pulls away.
Ken, that's what I was going to say. While this is going on, he's checked out. But the battle is for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
3:30 complete. Final 4. Back comes Wallace on the inside. 72 points separate them in the battle. Back in early September, late August, 300 points. Everyone thought Earnhardt was going to take it in a walkover. Then Wallace began his drive. As the laps run down in the final moments, here's Wallace giving another try. Earnhardt pulls up and willing to draft for a moment.
Let me tell you what, he already knows, the 3 car knows if he gets right behind the 6, it can make him loose. Look at him, he's going outside. That should pull the rear out. He's going to try him high. That'll make that 6 even looser. But Mark's able to hold it. Look how loose. Both of them sliding all over the racetrack.
Martin let that car come out that time. He didn't try to pinch it down.
They're earning their money now. This is what it's about. You're down to a few laps to go. Back in, supply that mother race car, 175, 80 miles an hour. You got to keep the throttle down.
Out in front by about 3 seconds. It's Ernie Irvan. He's going to take this thing home. But the story is up in 2nd spot. There you see Mark Martin. Here comes Earnhardt another time. And right behind him, the man that's right behind him in the point battle. White flag this time by Rusty Wallace, about 8 car lengths back. Anything left, final lap. Ernie Irvan on his way to his 9th career victory, his 3rd of 93. But the story, a dramatic one, is unfolding back in 2nd spot. Mark Martin holding on. Earnhardt desperate, worth $1 million bonus if he can win the championship, and his lead has been eroded dramatically into those final corners now. Here they come for the finish. Here's your winner to the stripe. That is Irvan, and in 2nd spot is Mark Martin. 3rd will go to car number 3, Earnhardt. Winding up in 4th today is Rusty Wallace. Great performance. Earnhardt leads the Winston Cup standings by 82 points over Wallace. First time Dale has finished ahead of Wallace since Watkins Glen back in mid-August up there on the road course. There you see Larry McReynolds, glasses on. What a great gentleman he is, and what a job he's done. A kid that came out of an Alabama junkyard, loves racing cars, and has helped develop that 28 into the great winning car that it is. So we'll meet Ernie Irvan in a moment. Mark Martin comes home 2nd, Earnhardt 3rd, Wallace 4th, Jeff Gordon 5th, Jimmy Spencer 6th, Kyle Petty was 7th.